Okay, today's Tuesday, May 20th. It is 7 p.m. and I'm calling the meeting to order. And can we lead, someone would like to lead with the pledge? Nancy, is that recording?
Yes.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much for coming today. We have had a little bit of shift of the agenda. The items are all still listed, it's just the way that we're doing it. The reason is because we're going to be working on the bylaws, and some of the changes that we want to make to the bylaws need to be addressed after the bylaw, okay, so we'll go ahead and
What are we talking about first?
We're going to talk about changing the order of the agenda.
yes, and
sorry.
do you
Yes.
have a motion?
I do have a motion.
Okay, thank you.
So that the board members can follow along, I give them a board, I'll give them a copy. Two.
Do you have one for the public too?
One more from Laura, if I've got enough copies left. You have one already? You have one already?
Yes.
Motions?
Yes. And one of the reasons we are changing, it's because we need to discuss some stuff and work on the bylaws and then discuss some stuff. The other thing is that Laura Ryan, we weren't sure, she's gonna be here as soon as she can, she's in another
There's a
meeting.
couple of
So we're just,
copies for here of motions.
going to hold off anything that we
Okay.
have to vote on.
Madam Chair, just a point
Yes.
of order, for future reference, if we change the order of the agenda, we should try to make an effort to have enough copies for our public.
Okay, I apologize for that.
Just a
Yeah, do we
point.
wanna run up and make copies now?
Well, I didn't, I already spent a whole bunch of money making copies, but I didn't make, apparently I may have a couple more copies here, I can
No,
see
that's
if
okay,
there's more copies.
that's okay.
But,
Okay,
okay, so Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjust tonight's agenda to the following. The non-public session will be moved to the last item on the agenda. The public comment will be moved to the next to the last item. Old business will be addressed first. New business will be addressed next. Other business will be addressed after that. And then adjournment will follow everything else. So we haven't taken anything out of the agenda, we've just changed it around to more coincide with what's currently in our bylaws, but also to allow us to have a discussion of the bylaw update, which deals with some of the stuff that we're dealing with.
Donna?
There are 2 sessions of public comment. Where would the second session go, or are you eliminating one session?
Is this just for tonight, or is this moving forward?
No,
This is for
just for tonight only. Yeah, I'm sorry. You said,
The agenda has 2 sessions of public comment, so are there 2 still, or are you removing one?
It's just gonna be one session.
one at the end, that way.
One at the end.
Yeah, that way anyone who has any questions, usually, we thought it was important to wait, if we're only gonna have one, to wait till the end so that everyone gets, knows what's been said and discussed, so that if they wanna make any comments on those items also.
May I respond to that?
Yes?
I just want to remind you that there is an ask from the public to have 2 sessions of public comment, one at the
Okay.
beginning and one at the end.
This
And
is
that's
not a
why
regular meeting.
you've done that
Yeah, this is
traditionally.
considered a special meeting that was called, so not a regular one.
Okay.
But we appreciate your input. Thank you.
I
Okay.
do have some more motion notes I can put more.
Yep.
Okay. I just
Did
need
we
a
take,
second.
hang on, did we take roll call on
No,
this?
it
wasn't seconded.
No.
No, I need a second
I'll
first.
second it.
Okay, Nancy seconded it, Jan's made, I'm going to say, I'm gonna call for but I'm not gonna do we're just gonna, anyone who approves of
First,
this.
we have to have discussion if there's a discussion.
Okay, anyone who wants to discuss this? No? Okay.
I still can't follow why we're
Discussing just changing the order.
We're just
Changing
changing
the order, that's all we're
The
discussing.
motion deals with changing the order.
Yeah, that's.
I'm still not following why we're changing it, but.
Because we're changing the order because we're going to discuss the bylaws tonight and some of the changes.
Public
Public
But why
comment
can't
changes.
public comment will be one of the changes that we're gonna
Right,
suggest.
why can't we allow public comment to proceed as normal and then alter?
Because there's timing and things that, the public comment
Donna, 1 minute.
follows.
I understand your concern, and you certainly could vote no, and maybe everyone will vote no, so I don't know.
But
But
as part
there's
of the
been a-
discussion, we should
this-
figure
yeah,
out why it
right.
would be that we would take out a second
Well,
public comment.
The problem is
wondering.
we've had 3-hour meetings on a regular basis for the last however many months.
Okay.
And so we're trying to make it so that the meetings aren't quite as onerous.
Okay, but we shouldn't eliminate input from the public, we should be,
We're not eliminating
Yeah.
input, there's still input at the end.
yeah, well,
We understand what you're saying.
Okay.
You feel they should have two chances.
I feel like
And in
it
most
shouldn't
cases,
be
in a regular
changed.
meeting, they will, okay, because this is a special meeting. We're just trying to get some business done so we can get on track and not have marathons.
But again, this is just something between like two people out of this room, and so the board members are just trying to like soak it all in and figure
No.
out what it is.
And every board member can choose to not select that too,
I know,
you
but
know?
I feel like you're rushing through the discussion on why are we shifting it around, so I'm just asking
Yep.
questions on why are we shifting it
Well,
around.
because we answered the question twice now, okay?
But, yeah, and so it's fine to discuss it, we're still discussing it.
Mhm.
Yeah. But we did answer the question.
I
Yes.
think too, if it's a matter of timing, then members of the board need to think about staying on topic and not extenuating how long a conversation goes. I don't think we eliminate the public input. I
Okay.
think we modify what we're doing
Theref-
as a.
Therefore, your vote would be no, and rightfully so, and there's other people who
Well, we
may-
haven't called for the
But
motion
we need,
anyway.
huh?
We haven't called for a vote yet.
We haven't called for a vote yet, so we're having discussion,
Yep.
and it's.
I feel like you're
it's-
cutting me off.
No,
but
no, you're
that's-
not, no, you've said it and we've answered it twice now, okay? So, you know, it
I
may.
get it.
Yeah.
No one's
Yes,
Perhaps in the future, we can just be mindful about seeing this ahead of time and not having
Yeah.
this come to us
Right.
here at the table.
Yes.
That's true.
In
Okay.
future circumstances.
Thank you, thank you. Okay,
Madam Chair, I call the vote.
do I have a
I
second?
call the vote.
1 minute, I'm sorry. Donna, did you have input?
I just wanted to add that the agenda that was posted did show two public comment sessions. So the public here tonight came with that expectation. So my ask to you would be to stick to the agenda that you post. In terms of the items.
Again, unfortunately, you don't have a vote, but all
I
the
know.
trustees do hear you, okay? So, okay, we've called, okay, I'm calling for a roll call. Anyone who agrees, say aye, raise your hand, please.
Roll call would be a roll call.
No, I mean, we're calling for a show of hands.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, anyone who agrees
To change the order of the
to
agenda.
change the other agenda? 3, and those who disagree?
Okay.
3, okay, the motion doesn't carry then, so we will have to go
Nor do
3.
you vote.
Huh?
I didn't hear the full
She
discussion,
wasn't here.
so I can't.
She just wants to change tonight's agenda,
In order.
the order of just tonight's agenda, so we can get through a ton of information that we've been trying to get through for the past many,
And,
many months. So we're just changing the order,
It's in the-
limiting public
it's-
comment
It's in the
to
motion.
1 except 2.
So all public comments
She
just
I
for this
gave her one,
evening
yeah.
would be at the bottom of the
Is
meeting.
this the new agenda?
This is the new agenda, these are all the motions that.
Well, this is the new agenda here,
Right
right here.
here.
That's the order. That's the
Oh,
order.
I
It's
thought
not
it
the
was
new
a motion.
agenda,
Yep.
it's just the
So,
order.
yeah, cause Jan called
Proposed
a
order.
motion to change.
Here is the motion, it's right here.
There's a lot of questions because nobody knew until 10 seconds ago.
Right, well, that's because, anyway. Okay.
I just wanna make sure Maura's aware of what we're doing right now before she gets to vote, okay?
Okay, hold on one second, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're waiting, we're waiting.
I'm trying to catch up.
It's okay.
I don't really see a big difference. Am I missing something?
You're
missing
public
public
comment.
comment.
One
Order.
public
There's
There's
comment.
one
In the
public
order.
comment
That's
section
the only
taken
thing
out,
that- yeah.
and,
So-
the order is the other thing.
Oh, okay.
It's just the order.
It's just the order, but everything else is the same?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, and there's
comment
one
at the
public,
top.
There was
we have
two.
public comment at the end.
Okay, I mean, if it's just changing the
Okay.
order, then I'm fine with it.
But there was 2 public comments on the agenda, and so we're eliminating 1, so it isn't just. We're a board, we owe it to the community if we say this is the meeting that we're running, like, we run that meeting.
I think at this point, just let the record stand for who voted against it and for it, and it shows that.
Well,
we're
I think that we
supportive.
need to revote only because Maura didn't vote, because she didn't know where we were at, okay? So I
Do you
guess.
feel more confident?
I didn't know that this was an agenda because it said motions at the top, so,
It's not, it's just that one, this is a motion,
right,
but it's that portion that says tonight's agenda. That
Okay.
section there is the order it would be done in, that's
Okay.
all. It's the same items except for eliminating one public comment.
I guess, you know, I respect that the visit, you know, that everyone's here to listen. I would like to see a show of hands of people who would feel they wouldn't be able to stay to the end but needs to say something. Does that make sense? I think, Beth, that you wanted to hear from, you know, from people to see
No,
if-
it's not about me, it's about the board needs
Yeah.
input.
But,
Yes, and,
We
Yeah,
could be done by now.
I think that you do publicly state what your meeting notice is, and you have 2 public comments on here. And I think that you should probably stay with your 2 public comment periods to tell the truth, because you have stated and publicly explained what your 2 public, so it's not just a change of order. It really is public comment periods that you're eliminating. And you do have quite a few people here. And the town council follows the same process now. There was a lot of discussion about this. You have public
they
comment.
often only have public comments at the end. I go to
We
the town
could have been
council.
done by
Me
now.
too.
Yeah, they do,
Can I make
yeah.
comment on that?
Yes.
Since I'm
Go
the
ahead.
town council.
Yes, I know, you're Mr. Town Council, yeah.
Okay, we have public comment at the beginning, we have public comment at the end. And a perfect example is last night, when we were discussing stuff, somebody who has been watching it on TV came down to make a statement. So, when you
So
state.
sometimes it matters.
Yes, and when you
Yes.
state, you know, on your agenda that it's gonna be available at the end, sometimes people might not come to the meeting for some, whatever reason, but if they see something that you're discussing and they wanna come make a comment, they come down.
Okay, Dan, thank you. I think we
There
still
could-
have
there
to
could be a-
address the
there could be a-
motion.
There could be an amendment, if somebody wants to make an amendment to the motion.
Does someone want to make an amendment to the motion? Do you want, Maura?
give me a second.
Yeah,
Can I make a motion that we do the new order but with 2 public comment periods?
Okay.
yes, yeah, there's nothing, yeah, you absolutely can.
So you wanna put another public comment period between, before we deal with old business
Yes.
and, the public comment one? And then there'll be a public comment when we get down to E in the new agenda.
Okay,
I
we
second.
now have a new, yes,
I second.
your second, okay, Morris, and a roll call, how many people want to say yes to that?
Okay.
Yes.
Just to keep it moving,
Just
that's
a vote.
fine.
Okay, I guess then we're gonna have public
So
comment.
the amendment passes.
The amendment passed.
Now we have to vote on the motion. The motion as amended.
Oh,
We've only
okay.
voted on the amendment.
Yes, okay, okay. We voted on, so we're gonna do a motion
We're gonna vote on the motion.
on the motion that.
As
Maura-
amended.
Yeah, as amended, okay. Show of hands. Okay, here we go. We're all set. We're back on track. We welcome the public to, yep.
Madam Chair, we've distributed this is not an official document, it's just a draft document, for about, public procedures for public comment.
Okay,
I say it's just a draft document.
Yeah.
It was based on the, last couple of meetings that I watched on the television, of how, the public comments, went and problems that seemed to happen. So, I'm just putting it out there so that.
are there
hopefully-
copies?
They
that
have
we
copies.
can share?
They have copies,
Oh,
all
they
the
all-
copies out there.
Okay, yes,
Can I just make a comment? This was not received by anyone prior to this meeting, so I understand that's a draft. Are you saying that you would like the public to follow this draft tonight, or is this something that we're
Well,
going to review for next meeting?
We could
It's
review
a
for the
heads
next
up,
one. This
it's
is,
a heads up that.
'Cause
this is a help because we have had people fighting at the things. We've had them calling names to each other in the background here. We've had a lot of back and forth, that has delayed things. We've had people giving time to other people, which just makes it go on for hours. You know, we need to get things done without each meeting being 3 to 4 hours. So this is just a procedural document at all, for just, and you know, you can look at it, board members,
And it will
for
be
us to
voted
change it
on.
or whatever, we can vote
So
on it at some
is
point.
this going on the agenda for the next meeting?
We can do that.
Okay, I just wanna be clear, cause
Yeah. That will be
I
on
have
the
not seen
agenda
it,
for
so
the-
just as I'm
Yes.
expected to present documents ahead of time, I
Laura?
feel.
Is this based on the Robert's Rules stuff?
This is not based on, necessarily on the Robert's Rules.
So there's guidelines for public participation in our binder right now. I don't know how different that is for,
We should peruse that.
Why don't we
For
start public
non-meeting
comment?
time.
Right,
So,
Read up the
time for
facts.
public comment.
yeah, let's start public comment.
So,
Okay, where are we at?
Ready to start public comment?
public comment.
Okay, all right. Please, anyone who would like to?
Comment.
Sure.
We fought for you.
Yes.
I'll start. I'm Kate Burbridge, 21 Kelly Road. So I saw that the bylaws are on the agenda, and I read through the bylaws. I read through the bylaws of some other towns in New Hampshire, and so I tried to compare the two of them, and I have some suggestions for things that we could potentially add to the bylaws. So Wyndham, for example, has an entire section where they list out their different committees that they have and, you know, participation in committees, so I think a section on committees would be helpful so the public's aware of what ones exist and the purpose that they serve. Newington has a mission statement and core values listed within their bylaws, and I think both those sections would be helpful to add to our bylaws. The mission, for example, spells out what the library exists for, which in part is the intellectual welfare of the town and its people. And the library values respect, knowledge, acquisition, stewardship, community, and teamwork. Most of the other bylaws that I reviewed also had a section on a conflict of interest. I think that would be helpful to have within the Leach Library's bylaws for transparency's sake, so the public is aware of what the trustees plan to do in the case a conflict of interest exists, or if one is discovered by another trustee or a member of the public. Newington also mentioned that trustees are to conduct themselves in accordance with the New Hampshire Public Library Code of Ethics, but I didn't see any mention of adherence to a code of ethics in our bylaws. So I think referencing that the trustees will adhere to the New Hampshire Library Trustees Association's Code of Ethics could be a great addition. It also mentions in section 2.5 that the library director may expend funds outside of normal budgets not to exceed $200 in a given month. In Wyndham, their provision is $500, and in Alder, it's $400. So this provision also doesn't allow for emergency. So if we're going to keep this provision, we should add an exception for emergencies and potentially raise that amount to be in line with other libraries. I also noticed in section 1, article 1.9, that trustees can review any and all contracts. So I would clarify whether or not this includes contract renewals or new contracts to the library, especially how timely some contracts need to be signed, and most meetings are only once a month. I've seen some pretty short turnarounds in my experience. I'm a director in the business in which I work in. And so with that short time around, it could require more meetings for reviewing contracts and stuff. And if that's something the group wants to accept, obviously that's fine. But I review contracts, and so that's very time consuming and very onerous. And so my recommendation would be for it to be for new contracts only. In terms of the job description for the library director, it looks like it hasn't been revised since 1992. So I agree it definitely needs a revision. So I also looked at comparable job descriptions from Rochester, Concord, Greenville, and the generic one on the New Hampshire Library Trustees Association website. In our job description, there's currently nothing for professional development for the director role itself or guidance on training and career development of other library staff. I would recommend that the director attend at least one workshop or seminar per year, and that they analyze the strength of their staffs with a focus on developing those strengths through continuing education and workshops and seminars of people that they manage.
I know that time's up, Caitlin.
Time.
Oh, sorry. All right, I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Thanks.
Good evening, Dan Bouchard, Town Council. I just want to invite everybody, next Tuesday, May 27th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Our new town manager, Sean Mulholland, will be at the police station at the community room, and he'll be able to, meet with people, and you'll get to meet him. If you can't make it from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., he's going to be there again from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. on the same day.
Tuesday.
Great.
Tuesday, next Tuesday. All right?
Thank you.
So come on out and meet him
Stand.
and
Yep.
get to chat with him. Thank you.
Hi, Ann Fenn, 18 Partridge Lane, Londonderry, New Hampshire. My questions have to do, one, on these procedures for public comment. My question is, will you allow the public to comment on these procedures, number one? And then two, whether or not these procedures are going to work with the state's open meeting laws. The state has pretty strong.
The new
leads on
document?
what- Yeah.
Well, I
this-
think we have to discuss
No,
this more.
no, I understand it's still draft.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering whether or not you're gonna let the public in this town comment on these procedures? I mean, you said it was draft, so.
It's draft, so, and it's not on the agenda for tonight, I mean, it's just.
Right,
so this is
and
for
another,
information.
I'm assuming
Yeah,
another.
in public comment, people can make a statement, okay, of what they think about a particular proposal or something, okay?
Right.
There can't be, there's not gonna be discussion back and forth type thing, but they can get up at any time and make a statement during public, the two public, comment.
Except
things.
if people are asking questions, I would think there would be a response from you all to those questions.
Public
in some
comment is
context.
public comment, basically, that's what it is.
I tell you, I've been to a lot of public comment meetings and hearings between Department of Defense and the public on, say, nuclear waste disposal. And I can tell you there's a dialogue. And that's part of the reason for having public comment, is that if the public has a question about something or thoughts on something, that this is the opportunity for you all to explain your positions to the public, as well as members of the public to explain their positions to you. That's why it's public involvement. It's not as though the public is speaking to a wall and gets absolutely no response at all. So I guess my question still stands, whether or not, and I'm implying that in the future, the public will get to comment on these procedures. Is that accurate?
When it's on the agenda item for the next meeting.
Next meeting, okay, great. And of course, as you said, it would be consistent with public participation provisions in your bylaws. We're gonna look at. My other question has to do with alternates, trustee alternates, and whether or not the trustee alternates have the right to vote if the person, if there's somebody who is not here. Normally on boards and committees, an alternate is allowed to vote if they're standing in for a person, a regular trustee who is not here.
Okay, again, for clarification purposes, okay, I will tell you that an alternate, when they're activated because of a missing member,
Right.
will be a voting member,
Okay,
okay?
thank you, yeah, that
You're welcome.
answers that question.
Whether or not we create an alternates, because that's not voted on, but they would be a voting member who would stand up if there's an if there's a missing person.
Missing member.
Yeah.
And do you have alternates as a part of the trustees now? Are there alternates?
We do not have them.
But
We
there
have-
will
there's
be
an
discussions,
RSA.
it's on the agenda tonight.
Yeah, it's on the agenda tonight to discuss.
Okay, all right, that's interesting, that'll be helpful.
Okay, thank you
Alrighty.
for your.
Thank you.
Vicki Stikowski, 25 Shasta Drive. Are you going to have a public hearing on these when it's decided? on the bylaws and the things that you're doing?
We have never had public hearings on changing documents in it's not part of the procedure.
Anything that you're going to be doing, are you gonna have a public hearing? That would be the time to discuss it.
The
If-
public meeting is during the discussion of what we're going to do, okay? So if we have a workshop, it would be an open meeting that the public could attend.
So, do you plan on having one of those?
Yes,
Not for everything.
not for everything,
Not
but
for
in
everything.
this, yeah, for the bylaws.
I thought we were voting on it
We
tonight.
had like quite a number of events.
Yeah, they've been having ongoing meetings on the bylaws.
I believe the last meeting was in January, and Donna had given some suggestions after that, that we expected another meeting to discuss those suggestions with the bylaws, and there's been no meeting that we have posted or that has been held that we're aware of. That's tonight. We're discussing all
We
the
put it
changes
off-
tonight.
we put it off
But there
several
hasn't been
times.
one since January, is that correct? Okay.
Okay, you're correct, yes.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
So you'll be hearing the changes tonight
Or discussion.
for discussion,
Yeah.
okay? Okay,
Anybody else?
I think that's.
I'm Dana Villeneuve, and I just want to talk in support of the library. I apologize.
Sorry,
46 Seasons Lane. I may not make sense. I suffered a cognitive issue, but I just want to say for 3 years I was landlocked in my home, but because of the library, it's brought me out of the home. I've joined the book clubs. I started reading again, which I wasn't able to do. And then I just really, really want to emphasize support for the non-literary programs as well, because, yeah, you may not be a book, but we're still learning together. And those of us that frequent those meetings, it becomes our own little support group in some ways too. So people like me who are on disability, your programs are a godsend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any other public comments right now? Okay,
What's the
Then-
next thing on the agenda?
the next thing on the agenda, I guess, is
Old business, appointment of alternates.
the old business, yes, okay. So, okay, we've had multiple discussions. The last meeting, okay, the last thing that happened is, I think Donna had called for a motion or something for,
Donna can't call.
huh?
I don't think Donna can
can't.
call.
Nope. So I
No,
don't
that's
think
what
she
I'm
does.
saying, Donna had called for, I
She wanted to
reviewed,
vote on something.
yeah, she called for a vote on something, okay? And so when we ended up doing the vote at that point, okay? What we want to point out is that the motions should come from the board and not from the staff, okay? If the staff would like something introduced, they should come to the board and introduce it to us first, yes.
I just want to be clear that I did not call for a vote. I suggested a vote because a patron was bringing a request to you, and I
Okay.
gave you the reason why I said that, but I did not force a vote on
Okay, you
you.
didn't call, you suggested a vote, yes.
Yes.
So, and we follow suit,
Okay.
okay,
Madam Chair,
yes,
I'd like to make a motion to name, in accordance with New Hampshire RSA 210-A:10, and our bylaws section 2.2 as currently exists, propose the following names of Rich Belinsky, Maria Barad, and Erica Lara be forwarded to the town council as possible alternatives for the Leach Library Board of Trustees. Alternatives would serve as a one-year term.
okay, in the amendment, are you, okay, were you making an amendment to, I heard the names, but to, how many positions were you suggesting, 3 positions? Okay, so then I guess the motion is, at this time, I think we should have discussion, okay? We need a
We need a
second to
second.
the motion first.
Go ahead. I don't wanna second it, I
Okay.
think we're jumping.
Okay, well, hang on. Do we have a second to the motion?
I've had a amendment to it.
Okay, an amendment to the motion? Yes, go right ahead.
So, I agree that we should have alternates, I also agree we should have, 3 alternates. But I believe it should be up to, the town council to, pick the people. Individual board members can, email the town council and let them know who they feel, and why, but I believe it should be up to the town council, to make those decisions.
As you'd like to amend it to the town council, deleting the names of people.
Correct, but leaving the 3 and
Oh,
letting
it's-
the, right, because the town council will post it, and then anyone who's interested can put their names forward, they'll be interviewed at a town council meeting. But the individual board members can email the town council and let them know, who they would like to see, and obviously if they wanna give reasons why, they can do that.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion? Laura, okay. We haven't just had discussion yet. Go ahead.
I brought this up at the last meeting that the RSA that speaks about the board having vacancies, I'm sorry, not vacancies, alternates, does specifically say, and I brought it with me if you want to look at it, it says the Board of Library Trustees may recommend to the appointing authority, which in this case would be town council, the names of no more than 3 persons who may serve as alternate members on the board when elected members of the board are unable to attend a board meeting. So the RSA does give you the guidance to recommend names.
So
And that's the
the
discussion
motion
that-
is just reinforcing that we have an RSA, but the motion is telling us to follow that procedure, okay? Or,
Well, since it's in May, that doesn't mean we have to. I think we could vote to have the town council pick alternates. I think we could also name 3 people. So I think we should split it and decide on the alternates first, and then if we want to do any names.
okay, hang on, Nancy.
So, I'm not convinced that we need alternates, and I don't understand why we're talking about alternates. And I say that because I've spoken with our past chair, I've spoken with a past board member here, and I've spoken with another past chair, and there has never been in the history of maybe perhaps the last 10 years when the Board of Trustees has not been able to vote because it did not have the required quorum. So I'm curious why we're discussing alternates.
Jan?
I proposed it because it's part of our charge for from the State Department of State RSAs, and I feel it's important to have the backup if needed. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, and having alternates, if they never get used, they never get used. But they probably will be used if there's anything. You have 1 person missing, you can use an alternate.
It's like car insurance,
Yeah.
you never need it, but it's there if you do.
Helen?
Jan, I'd like you to talk about why you picked the names that you did.
Because these were people, when we had the original discussions way back 3 months ago, these were people who had come up during the meeting or during public comment that said that they would be interested in serving as alternates. So, the 3rd person's name was, it should be Erica, not Eric. The 3rd person's name was added because of needing a 3rd person's name, and so it was somebody who had ran for election this year.
So I thought there was some thinking behind the fact that we just had an election and we had 8 people run for the 3 open positions, that we would look to the people who had not won the top 3 positions.
And that was,
And Chris Navarro was one of them, and
Right.
she has sent this board several emails that she wants to be considered to be an alternate. So I just wanted to make sure that was acknowledged.
Okay, may I point out that I made that proposal a couple of months ago, and it was, the board turned it down at that time. Okay, so,
A couple months ago.
yeah,
mhm.
yes,
I
yeah,
don't think-
I absolutely did, yes, yeah. Yeah, cause I thought, this was our first discussion prior to elections, that we needed alternates, okay? Prior to elections, and I said, you know, we should look at, you know, the election results once it comes through. Then the second discussion was, once we had the elections, I proposed we have these 3 people that came within, you know, I think it was 10 or 20 points of each other. And if anyone remembers that conversation, and I suggested using the public's, you know, voting record of who should be suggested.
I think that was 2 meetings ago, and I think we did not
It wasn't on the
vote it
agenda
down.
when you mentioned
Yeah,
it, so it was just a conversation.
Right, I don't think we voted that down
The
in any
alternates,
way,
I thought the alternates were on the agenda for that night,
but I don't think so.
I think right now, I'm not sure that the board is comfortable, everyone on the board is even comfortable on talking, I mean, we've been deferring this for about 3 months in a row now, okay? And it just seems that people don't see the need or don't want to, you know, have alternates. Go ahead.
We're just,
Hang on.
No,
We've
Jane,
got-
go first.
we're just having a discussion
Yeah.
about the motion and the amendment to the motion, which would allow the town council to appoint up to 3 people as alternatives to the Leach Library Board. So it would be to have them, and to allow the town council to appoint them.
And
There's a motion on the table, it
And
was
with the-
seconded.
And the amendment was seconded.
Right.
Make the
And
change.
it did not include any names, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Hers was just to delete the names
yeah,
and to delete the names and ask the town council to appoint up to 3 alternates.
okay, then I think it's clear that,
There's no discussion.
hang on, we got a lot of discussion.
Yeah, no, and
Helen.
I wanna say, cause I want them to speak first, cause Dawn's been waiting a while. My personal feeling is it will make this more of a circus than it already is. And we referenced at the beginning of this meeting that our meetings are too long and we
Yeah.
talk in circles, we couldn't even figure out if we were gonna have public comment or not. I'm very concerned about adding more voices to this table that we do not need.
They wouldn't be adding voices unless they were sitting, if
Okay.
someone was out.
I don't trust that they won't speak up and feel like they're part of things and have to
No,
speak, so
one
I'm
minute.
pretty concerned.
They have the right to speak.
I wanna
Go
clarify
ahead,
that.
Nancy. Yes, please.
To Christine's point, I don't believe that they will be allowed to vote if one person is missing.
I believe they will, if
They
they're
will.
taking a spot at the table.
Then I really, really am opposed to this, because we've not ever not had a quorum. So we can still vote when we have a quorum.
But that is the way that alternates are used in other boards in the
We're
town.
not every other board.
I understand, but
If it's a 3-3 vote, then you need that
it's the way
other
alternates are used in
spot.
other boards in the town.
Dan,
Madam
are there alternates on the town council?
There are no alternates, for example, on the school board, and I sat on the
We
school
do
board
not have
for
alternates
10
on the
years.
town council.
You do not.
Okay.
Okay, but you have alternates on planning board.
We have alternates on planning
Budget
boards,
committee.
those
Budget.
alternates on whatever boards we have can speak. So yes, it will lengthen possibly your meeting, okay?
Beth, I'll get right back to you, okay, Beth?
One of the things that we had talked about doing tonight, and that would have been probably before there was a motion on the table, was to talk about what does an alternative look like? An alternate, I can't speak. So what are the duties, what are the expectations? Because we couldn't identify that at the last meeting. So we're voting on something and we don't even know what that person's capacity is for participation. We can't get people that are on the board to be fully invested in the meetings when we're here. So this is actually not,
I don't know that that's
yeah.
accurate.
there's a lot of stuff that we push
Where's
month
that
after month
comment
because
coming
it's,
from?
it's because month after month we add things to the next month, because we are not prepared, because we haven't read what was in our binders. And it is important that we think about what is it that an alternate would do. Because if we don't know what an alternate would do, we're just voting on what? Creating more chaos. It has to be very, very well defined.
I agree.
Yes.
Hold on,
Yeah.
Donna and Erin are waiting.
Donna's first.
Donna?
I'm gonna echo what Beth said, that last meeting I said that you're putting the cart before the horse kind of thing, where you don't, in your you have to go through your bylaws and point out what the expectations, Jan, I'm speaking please, what the expectations of the alternates are. The alternates are not intended to be substitute trustees. They're fully participating people that will sit here with you, will discuss things. They should be on the email list. They should come to your non-public sessions, because they can't just show up and not know what you discussed for the last 3 meetings and have a vote. And you also need to know, if you have 3 alternates, who gets the vote first. Like, you need an order. Otherwise, it's chaos. And yes, it will make your meetings longer. So your bylaws is where you really need to figure this out before you're asking town council to appoint names. Because how would anyone agree to commit if they don't know what they're signing up for?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this feels nilly-willy to me, and I think that if we're going to do this, we need to do it right. And I believe that it needs to be on our agenda, so
It's
that,
on the agenda.
I'm speaking, Jan. I think it needs to be on the agenda. This was on a changed agenda. This was not even the posted agenda.
It's on the
It was
actual
on the
agenda.
old agenda, on
It
the
was on
old
the actual
business,
agenda.
but it doesn't say that we're calling for a vote. So I believe that if we're going to make this monumental change to this board, that I agree, it has to be done correctly. We need to hear from our public. It needs to be in our bylaws, and I absolutely agree. We have the cart before the horse. I know that there are people that want to be involved as alternates. Great, that's wonderful. I'm glad that there are people that want to be involved in our library. But again, we've not ever had a meeting. Betsy McKinney, did I see Betsy McKinney here tonight? She could speak to the number of meetings that were ever had where this board could not call for a vote because it did not have a quorum. To Christine's point, can I predict the future? No, I cannot. But my goodness, if the past is any prediction of the future, then I think this board is just fine.
Still have a
I
vacuum on the table.
do want to make one comment to one thing you said, is that the appointment of alternates last month was on new business.
Yep.
We do not vote on new business.
Correct.
It's been moved to old business because we already had discussion. So it is a votable thing because it's an old business. But again, I'm not sure that the board is ready, to move forward with this. I don't know. Go ahead, Jan.
We can still appoint, there is a motion on the table to do this, whatever. We can all vote it down and move on from there. But alternates are used in a variety of, they're used by committees in town, across the, if you go to the zoning board, planning board, any of those, as soon as one person's absent and a alternate moves into that slot, so that you always have the same number of people voting. I support the motion as amended to allow the town council to choose up to 3 alternates for the board.
You know what? Are we ready to call?
I'd
Because
like to
we're
call
not
the
gonna
vote. I'd like to call the vote.
Because I just don't think that we're going to reach a consensus right now.
I would like to read back the minutes of last time we were here.
Go ahead.
And this is not voted on, so it's not official, but
Yeah.
the recorder, Beth, had very similar. On the appointment of alternates to the board, discussion ensued regarding the role and responsibilities of board alternates. Several questions were raised. At the suggestion of Plant, the board will revisit this topic at a later date once more research can be made into an amendment to the bylaws and the opportunities for the public to offer input.
And
So,
whether or
let's
not
do that.
we vote tonight for an alternate, okay, we do have changes proposed to the bylaws that would explain the procedure should at some time, whether
Yes,
it
and
be
I
now
believe
or
it's in the
later.
draft.
I'm sorry, did someone say something?
And I said, I believe the alternates is in the draft
Yeah.
bylaws.
Mhm. They're already in the bylaws. Yes, so we're gonna be discussing that later
Yeah, I'd like to
anyway.
call the vote, please.
Yeah. Okay, so would you like to make a
Yes,
motion?
I already amended the motion
Okay,
to, allow the,
Town council.
town council to select 3 names for, alternates for the library.
and you second it? No, no.
I don't know who seconded it, but I can second it.
Anyone second it?
I can second it, sorry.
All right, do you want to do by roll call or by show of hands?
Roll call.
Okay. Beth?
No, Beth Maracker.
Helen Palmieri, no.
Liz Thomas, no.
Jan McLaughlin, yes?
Christine Fitzgerald, yes.
Maura Ryan, yes.
Nancy Hendricks, no.
Vote doesn't carry, I'm sorry. I think that too many.
So the vote as amended doesn't carry.
Doesn't
Can we
carry,
go back to
yeah,
the original
don't-
motion now?
Yes. Yep, and would you repeat your
Original motion was,
Oh,
in
to add
accord-
the names
with those names.
with those
In
names.
accordance with RSA whatever, to propose the following names as for town council to serve as for a 1-year term.
So would you be willing to break that in 2? We'll do the alternates as 1 and the names as a second?
Yes, or, I can withdraw it if you'd rather, I can just withdraw it and we can go on to something else, which would be the bylaws. So,
Go ahead.
so, just, we can break it up. I'd like to propose that we have 3 alternates.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that, I'm changing the motion that I had made,
So you're withdrawing your original motion?
right, and,
Okay.
and they're splitting it into 2 parts. That I'd like to propose that we have 3 alternates in accordance with RSA 210-A:10 and our bylaws section 2.2. That's it.
Second.
1 minute.
Can you clarify who appoints?
It doesn't, well,
We're just-
we're broken in
if
half,
we're-
we're breaking in half.
Right.
This
We're
is
just
gonna be,
deciding if we want alternates or not.
it's yes or no, and if we do, then how it's gonna be done.
Okay.
Okay? Beth, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, all right, I think this is
Any
gonna
other
be,
discussion? That's it.
any other, okay, roll call, vote?
No, Beth Maracker.
No, Helen Palmieri.
No, Liz Thomas.
Yes, Jan McLaughlin?
Yes, Christine Fitzgerald.
Yes, Maura Ryan.
No, Nancy Hendricks.
Okay,
It doesn't pass, okay. Fine. Next thing.
okay, so basically my understanding is we at this point are not
I have no
prepared
others.
to vote for alternates and to place alternates.
Mhm.
And so, I think we'll just let this rest for a while, you know what I mean? I
Look at the
think we had
bylaws to be
discussed
Oh,
last time that maybe you could give it a couple of months to percolate or something. Nancy, I think you had suggested, okay, that maybe, I don't wanna keep putting it on the schedule, okay? It's something that was requested by public comment multiple times, okay? And that's how it rose to the top, okay? So,
okay.
anyway, all right. Where's the agenda here?
Bylaws.
Okay, with the bylaws discussion, right? Okay. Christine was the chair of the bylaw committee,
Subcommittee.
the subcommittee, okay? And, Nancy was on the subcommittee, and who else? There was one of the. Maura, I'm sorry, Maura. So they did a lot of work, and, I know that, I'm hoping that all of you reviewed their, things, and just, my thoughts for tonight was that we would get some input from the rest of the board who are not on the team, if there's anything we wanna put in or delete, okay? And then the subcommittee will reconvene to do a final completion.
I don't think the
You
subcommittee
don't think
needs to
we need to do
reconvene.
again?
Right,
Okay.
I think we hopefully should be able to get this done tonight.
Okay,
So
Sid,
if it's
you're all
okay,
set.
I'll just go
Yes,
through
please.
each section.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm assuming all the trustees had an opportunity to take a look at everything. Which draft are we going off of, the one that was attached in the agenda? Okay, not the updated one that we made that. That should be the same one. The one that you had made all the changes to? Correct. Or suggested changes, you think that's the same as this one?
It
should be, I don't think it's.
I don't believe it is.
I don't think it ever got updated, that was one of our problems from many months ago. Cause I just looked in the ones that were attached in the agenda against my notes and it was the same. Okay. Erin?
Nancy.
I'm not convinced that it is
I
either,
don't have
and I
it.
say that, Christine, because we had talked as a subcommittee about professional development for the trustees and for, staff, and I don't see any of that in here, particularly when new trustees are voted to the board.
I mean,
Where, then point it out to me, because I didn't see it.
I don't have a draft copy.
It's in the packet here.
no,
So,
different copy.
Erin.
So the packet, the draft that was included with the agenda was the only draft that I was given. I have asked multiple emails to the board asking if there were updates to this draft with no response. My assumption was that there were no updates, and I
believe
included
I
it
did
into the.
respond to you saying that that was the correct one.
But, okay, but you were the only one that responded saying it was correct, and now we have people saying that it wasn't correct, so.
And actually, I did forward the same one to you.
Right,
two
so
of
this
us
is,
did
but this is,
respond.
so this is
Yeah.
the only one that I had to attach to the agenda.
Yeah.
I don't have any, if there were changes, I don't have them, and you didn't have them, obviously.
At one point, when I was the chair, I asked you the same information because I was asking about these possible changes we've made and whether we get an electronic version of that so we can attach it, and you said no. And you said that didn't exist and that you weren't gonna make any changes until we made this official. No, I said I wasn't going to add any changes that Donna proposed because she's not a trustee, number one, and number two, that it needs to be discussed. I said I'm happy to make the changes if all the trustees agree to add Donna's comments to it. Do you have this electronic somewhere? I don't have that anymore because my computer just crashed. So I'm in the process. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, don't you hate when that happens? It's like when you get updates and you lose information.
I mean, we all did at one time, with the exception of Beth, because she was not on the board at the time, but we all did
Beth may have gotten it if she was at the meeting.
get the copy.
So she should have
January
gotten a
2nd.
copy.
Well, there's a lot of versions that have that same January 2nd date on it.
Yes, they are. They're up.
Are the original ones in there? The original bylaws, no.
Do you want this?
Madam Chair, while they're looking for their, information, I do want to say, if we don't pass this tonight, I did want to at least address some of the comments made by So I do think that it would be helpful in our bylaws to list committees and, certainly as we're moving forward, budget readiness seems to be one of our big things. It would be helpful perhaps to list in our bylaws a budget subcommittee. I think that we're going to be updating and changing and reviewing our bylaws consistently. It might be helpful to list that as an official subcommittee. And programming, we've talked about programming a lot. You and I have talked about that. It might be helpful to have a subcommittee to work with Erin in terms of programming and keeping our, not that you're not keeping your programming fresh, but to work with Erin and talk about programming. Those are just thoughts.
So if you look at the original bylaws.
Yep.
Section, the article duties and obligations, so it's Article 2.
Yep.
It ends with 2.4. The ones that were updated have an additional 2.5, and that's where it has the amount of $200, which someone in public comment
Made
had
comment.
made comment to today. And that's not in the original. This is the updated version. And it was
2.5.
highlighted in yellow because that was left for discussion, so we could discuss the amount, because the amount of 500 was also discussed at our meeting.
Well, then somehow, some way, Madam Chair, when we talked about professional development, it didn't find its way into these bylaws. And I think professional development is very important, not only for trustees, but for our staff as well.
And that's fine, and we can add it in, but.
And that, we should. Right. Professional development training, whatever you wanna call it. Because, you know, we all talked about this, when we assume these roles in March, you know, the first meeting is usually in April, and we come to meetings like this, and we don't know anything, but we're supposed to vote, you know? So I just think professional development and training, maybe Erin, you might know the answer to this. Are there, opportunities at the New Hampshire Library Trustees
They
Association?
just had a meet,
Yeah, I went to it.
Do you like me to answer?
Oh, and it's 3.8, training professional development will be provided for all new board members. The chairperson will provide any and all resources and training options.
Okay, what article is
It's on
that?
page 2. 3.8, just above Article 2, duties and obligations.
And that doesn't say anything about staff.
This year.
But this is bylaws, this isn't staff.
It's in the
different.
personnel policy,
Okay,
which you were also on that
I
subcommittee.
am.
Okay, so are we ready to move forward?
I believe so. I believe that that things that people thought that was missing seems to be in here.
changes in particular?
No, I don't think we need to go through them. So 1.1, if there's any changes to that.
Sorry, can I just a minute?
Yep.
Okay, because I have a markup copy. Okay, I have no changes to that.
So I have my red line, there were no changes to the original one, so this is the original one, I'm assuming that one is all set. I did add after the fact, so this is a new proposed one, section 1.2, that bylaws shall be reaffirmed every April after town elections. Does anyone have any issues with
What-
adding that?
What number was that you added?
It's 1.2.
Could you say the language again that you said?
Bylaws shall be reaffirmed every April after town elections.
I just have a suggestion. There is another area where you talk about the annual meeting, which is the April meeting. I would suggest adding that there instead. That is Article
Section
3, Section 3.
What's that?
Article 3, Section 3 refers to the annual meeting, which is the April meeting, because 3.1 states that the election of officers shall take place at that meeting. So I would suggest moving the bylaws should be reaffirmed there at that meeting.
I'm fine with that. Does anyone else
Okay.
have any issues?
No, I think that, all right, so,
All right,
So would that be 3.2 then? Just to clarify
yes.
then?
Everybody else has moved on.
2.1, there were just minor revisions from from the original one. It was missing a couple of letters. So town council, a qualified individual. Oh, no, I'm sorry, town council, to the town council qualified individuals for appointment. So there was basically no changes to the original.
2.2, that's the trustees.
Right, yep, trustees, 2.2, this is for, the alternates. So I'm assuming we are removing that for now.
Well, it does to have the option, so I don't think you have to remove it, so you have it in place for future, would be
Yeah.
my recommendation.
it should stay there, yeah.
And I also added to the end for 1-year terms, just to clarify.
Okay.
And
These
I
changes need
would
to be-
like to suggest that we add the New Hampshire RSA 202-A:10, so that we have the New Hampshire RSA, listed there.
Okay.
Just
So at the end, just say per RSA.
Mhm.
Okay. Erin has a quick question.
Yes.
So, as we're going through this, there's already things that were added that were not in this document. Is this document going to be then revised with the changes this evening and then voted on the next meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Section 3 officers, 3.1, there were no changes to the original.
I just had a quick, something that was discussed previously was making it clear, who like the backup is to the treasurer, and I did look through other libraries' bylaws, and many of them have an assistant treasurer role, which would make it clear that they fulfill the treasurer's role if the treasurer can't. So I would suggest that you consider that.
Later on, we're gonna be discussing who's going to be signing for checks and acting like an assistant,
But
you know.
you should put in the bylaws if you're gonna be able, if you wanna make that decision.
Yeah,
And now would be the time to
I
do that.
personally don't think we need another position, what does everyone else feel?
I don't think so.
I don't think we need another position.
But you're saying
Jan's the
that we
treasurer.
need somebody to cover for meetings if you're not here, but then there's nobody to sign a check if you're not here, right?
But they don't always get signed at every meeting.
But like in general, like if you were unable to like sign a check.
Right, but checks don't always have to be signed instantly. You know, usually there's a 30-day bill paying, so
Are
in
there
that 30
times though
days.
when that might be a problem?
Right now, there's 2 officers, there's 2 people on the board.
The only time I feel that would be concerning to sign them quicker than 30 days is as we get to the end of the fiscal year, which is what we're in now. So I would say like any checks that come up after this meeting would need to be signed quick as possible because we're coming to the close of the budget. That's where I would feel like that concern would come. But I think having 2 people now, we already have 2 people on the bank account now that can sign checks. I feel that's sufficient if those 2 people are able to commit to that responsibility.
Okay, no change on that, right? Okay.
Moving on, 3.2, just the last sentence was changed. Meeting agenda is sent and distributed by chairperson. Chairpersons shall establish memorandum of understandings with groups such as Friends of Leach Library to work together towards shared goals. I know it was discussed at one point, I can't remember where, but we also wanted to add after Friends of Leach Library to Town of Londonderry.
Yes.
And then after shared goals, MOUs will be initially discussed as a subcommittee before it is reviewed with all trustees for approval.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the first change that you spoke of?
So after Friends of Leach Library, add Town of Londonderry. So that would be another group.
Oh, and the Town of London. I see what
Correct.
okay. And then what was the one after that?
MOUs will initially be discussed with the subcommittee before it is reviewed with all trustees for approval. Christine, are these things that we did at the January meeting, or is this? No, this is one that I just added now.
Which subcommittee was that?
Initially discern.
I can't remember who had commented on it, but they thought it was a good idea to have a subcommittee look at the MOUs before it's brought to all the trustees.
Donna?
That was my suggestion, and I specifically suggested it for the initial MOU, just because creating it initially will be a lot of work. But I don't necessarily think you'll need to do that every time you go to like renew it, because the draft will already be there.
Like with say there's a new group, then it
So
it'll be initial. Yeah, I have it in there, initially discussed.
So it initially isn't at the the time you implement it, it's more so the first time you draft it.
Correct.
Okay. I do think there could be some confusion with the initially. 'Cause I took it to mean that every time you renew it, that would also be initially. That, I don't know if others would think the same, but.
We could word it, that the initial, MOU, the initial draft of an MOU will be discussed with the subcommittee before bringing it to the whole board. I don't know if that helps. The format of new MOUs will be discussed by initially with we want to initially.
In all
Initial
honesty,
draft.
I don't know that you even need it added. It's
Okay.
more that I didn't think it should be all on the chairperson to set up the first MOUs for everybody.
I
So if
agree.
you're all in agreement about that, I don't know that you need a statement to cover the initially. That's
What do
my
the
thing.
trustees think?
I think the initial was fine from the standpoint that, but bring it to a subcommittee first so that at least we have some, discussion before
Just
it comes
one
to
that
the
will
board.
be agreed on, just like as things come up, we'll form a subcommittee. Oh, okay. So when we start to generate these, we'll form a subcommittee for someone to start it.
Develop MOUs.
Everyone in agreement? Yep.
Yep.
Recording secretary, there were no changes, from the original.
What number are you at?
3.4.
What about the 3.3? We skipped that one.
Oh, she said no changes.
Oh, no, oh, I didn't hear that. My
Yeah.
apologies.
So 3.4, there were no changes. 3.5, there were a couple. So reconcile bank statements monthly and present. It's currently says quarterly, and we changed it to monthly financial report to the board. And then the last sentence, treasurer shall obtain a copy of the MS9 from the town treasurer and distribute to all trustees on an annual basis. Any concerns?
So the secretary, 3.4 was we're talking about, right?
3.5,
3.5.
we're on the treasurer, we're on
Okay.
my job.
So, the treasurer shall be, treasurer shall reconcile bank statements. So that means I have to get the reconcile.
You did.
So, that has to happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
Point being that, you know, once we agree on this, then might have to change the how the bank
Procedure.
statements who they get sent to and who's gonna reconcile. It's gonna be the treasurer, okay? Yeah.
So, set. 3.6 was a new ad. Treasurer and secretary will work together towards producing and filing the report for it says New Hampshire Charitable Association,
That's not good.
Charitable trust unit.
charitable trust unit.
Of the, state, it's the Secretary of State's office, right?
It's
Office of
charitable
Attorney
trust
General.
unit at their office.
So it should read New Hampshire Charitable Trust.
No.
What?
The
No.
charitable trust unit of the New Hampshire Secretary of State's office. There is someplace
Of
called
the Attorney General.
Attorney General's office?
Yeah.
Okay.
Charitable Trust Unit of Attorney General's Office. Alright,
And then it should also say if the board holds trust funds, right?
I'm sorry, what?
If the board holds trust funds, we should add that to the end of it, because we don't currently have.
We
do.
have
Yeah,
3
we do.
trust
We do.
accounts.
Yeah, we do.
We also have to do it based on our accounts, because the
Okay, I thought there was a fund that we don't have that was somewhere included on this.
there were 3 trust funds that we have that are trust funds. We also have 2 accounts that the state, views those 2 accounts because they are through the trustees.
Yeah.
They view those as trust that we have to report out, so.
Okay, I thought there was another something rather that we
So
don't have.
do
Well,
we-
there are the trust funds, but
Okay.
there's 3 of those.
So do we add if the board holds any trust funds or any funds in a trust account, those reports will need to be filed as well?
No, because the MS9 is gonna cover the 3, the
Okay.
1979, the 1924, and the 1926.
Okay, Donna, you have a comment?
Yeah, my suggestion to add that language that if the board holds trust funds is because the RSA that you refer to here is only if the board holds them, whereas right now those 3 trust funds are held by the trustees of the trust fund under the town. So they're the ones that submit this report, not the board of trustees. But if you do hold trust funds in the future, you'd already have this here to note that.
My understanding is that the charitable committee, whatever, of the, whoever they are, that they view our trustee accounts, the 2 trustee accounts, as trust funds applicable under this, and we have to file those for this. And there are 3 funds that we don't currently hold, but we should be holding, that we need to figure out how to get them back from the town.
I believe, and Erin, you can add to this, I believe Erin contacted the Attorney General's office and sent you information that said that the trustees' accounts, the 2 trustees' accounts, the book account and the trustees' account that receives donations, is not considered under this RSA and does not need filing.
Yeah, I met with them at NHLTA and they said no.
No, what?
They said
That it would
that account, because it receives donations, we have to account for all those donations.
Erica?
So I actually was in touch with Amy Nichols at the charitable, the Attorney General's office, and I did send this information to Maura and Jan and Liz. And the only report that we have to give to them is the same report that we give to our annual report to the town. That is sufficient enough information. Once a year, we have to submit that to them, to her, and that is sufficient information. We do not need to list every donation.
Yeah, I met with her and she said we do have to do the donation report.
Because the email that she sent me said we did not.
I think she misunderstood.
Because I sent her the annual report and she said we're all set.
Yeah, but I don't think she understood that we have that account with the donations in it, which is separate from the book account, which is separate from the 3 trusts.
But the report that I sent her is the annual report, which does list the trustee account and the book account. So both of those accounts are on the annual report.
But it, on the book, on the trustee account, does it list that it receives donations?
I believe it does. It's, the donations are listed out, the total amount for the annual.
Okay, well, I don't know what to do with that. Just that was the information that you got.
Yeah, I
think
got
we need
the,
to do that.
I took all the stuff that from my meeting with them and I'm going to Xerox it and give it to you guys at the next meeting, but I just haven't had time to do it yet.
Okay. Well, I have the information here with the emails, and I spoke to Amy Nichols, and my understanding was that the annual report submitted to them once a year was sufficient. But if someone wants to explore otherwise, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, but then we can't vote on it.
I don't think we should vote tonight anyway.
Jan.
So I'd like to propose that we keep it in about the having to report to the charitable group, and if we find out additional information, this is going on based on Maura's discussion with them like 3 weeks ago. So, which is where we came up with the here's the donations that we need to list, blah, blah, blah. So I propose, I think we should keep this in here and add the.
I would rather offer more reports to make sure we're covered, and then if we find that in true statement, that one report that Aaron says you do once a year, we can alter it then, but I would rather cover our bases now, that, you know, of the reports that we believe should be reported, and then we'll, you know, obviously, every time we talk to someone, we get a different opinion and a different statement, you know what I mean? It's not unusual to talk to the Attorney General's office and two people ask the same question and get the same different answer.
Mhm.
Okay, so I would rather err on the side of caution and just do all the reports. And then later on, if we can cut out some of the reporting and just depend on that one report, great. Is that okay with that, Donna?
I just wanna be clear that that is not an expectation for the staff.
No, it's not.
Well, wait, it's not a requirement for the staff to do the report, but it is required for the staff that if you receive any donations, that it needs to be written down in the same book, in the same format.
Well, it is written down at every meeting when I present my director's report.
All we get is, we got from the, we got $25 from, Shaw's.
Right.
But that is not sufficient for filling out that, that form, if we have to fill out that form. We need more details.
Well, so what are the details that are needed?
I gave you those the last time, but I will, so when we talk about the finances later, I will be
Okay.
happy to talk to you about what is needed. But, we need to get information about, you know, what it was, who donated it, when it was, what's purpose, and when it was dispersed. In other words, we gave out these 3 things for the summer program. We gave out this card for, I don't know, whatever else we did. So that we know, so if we can still say, well, there's still this money in there that we need to take care of, that was a donation that we haven't taken care of yet, we need to make sure that we're using that for getting more books or whatever.
It's a paper trail.
Right.
The government wants to know the paper
Where the
trail.
money came
Where
in
it came,
and where it
when
goes.
it was spent, where it went.
So who is expected to complete that? The treasurer or the library staff?
The treasurer would do the report, but we need the details as things come in to the library.
We'll have to create a tracking system where you have a form that you put in anything that comes in. So that
We bring that to you at the board meetings.
No, when the board meeting, you
Yes.
list only the, you know, we got $25 from Shaw's.
And what we're using it for.
Right, but not that it's already been used. Okay, there's more information that needs to happen with it.
Not all of that's on the staff though, because if the board is the one that needs to pay it out, that's the treasurer.
If the staff receives a donation
Mm-hmm.
of money or materials, money mostly.
We
but
didn't
if-
do material. We removed materials.
So you don't ever do materials.
No, we've previously discussed taking the materials away from the meetings that the board's accepting.
Okay.
You're doing personal property and money.
All right, what I'm saying is, the discussion that was had with the state attorney general's office, charitable group, discussed the fact that they were talking about all donations need to be reported,
Mm-hmm.
including materials as well as cash and checks and gift cards and any of those things.
So materials in my mind, does that include the book sale? Because that is way more work than we're able to do.
it wouldn't include the book sale. It would include.
The board receives money from the book sale.
Correct.
So that, and the staff is the one that does all the work for it. So are the staff now expected to count everything we receive in the book sale?
Are you not?
all the money.
There's no way we could do
There's
that.
absolutely no way.
But all the money that comes into the library, okay, for whatever,
Mhm.
for copies, for whatever.
That's
all-
already accounted for.
Hold on. All the money that comes in and out,
Mm-hmm.
we have to have an in and out. Things that we have to have a gazinta and a gazauta. If it comes into the library, where did it go out to? So all of the funds should be accounted So, in other words, if you have $15 in the front desk at the beginning of the day, you should have $15 at the end of the day, or you should have $12 and then here's the information about where the rest of the money went to.
It doesn't really work with the board though, because you don't always turn around and use it right away. Like someone could donate money for programming, but you don't necessarily turn around and give us a check for that amount. You wait and decide what you're going to give it to.
That is correct.
So
That's when.
how would you do that?
That's the portion of the thing as to when it gets used. So has it been used yet? Nope, it hasn't been used yet. We still have to deal with the $350 that was given to us by Mrs. Smith for a horse program.
Okay.
Okay.
So
we would
what
have to know
is the
that.
expectation for the staff? We
That
still bring
if-
you the unanticipated funds. We give you what its purpose is, because we had been doing that. And whether it's been, even for gift cards, you want to know when they're actually awarded, or however you want to describe
Yes,
that.
so there's a tracking mechanism. So if we get, let's say, I'm not accusing anybody of doing something bad with them, but someone could say, gee, I think you got a whole bunch of gift cards. How do we know that you didn't get 9 gift cards and you gave out only 8 of them? How do we know there's not another gift card rolling around? We can say, well, we can show you, because here's the 8 gift cards, and here's the 9 gift cards, and here's how they were distributed. They were distributed, these 9 gift cards were distributed on this date.
So
Which left
how
the
are
balance
you,
of 1.
are you going to do this going forward, so starting in the new fiscal year? Because I don't know how you can do that accounting for all the money you have in your account right now.
We're not talking about the money in the account. We're talking about money that comes in and out of the library.
But it's going into your account.
Hold on. It could also be going into the book account as a fine or whatever, or as something else. We need to know where the money goes, because we're responsible for every penny that comes in and out. We're financially on the hook for.
Right, and I feel that you're already accounting for that in the annual report. Like,
Okay.
it shows where the money's gone.
Well, I don't think we are. So, because I don't think it's really clear, and I think we had enough questions on the financing and the finances that are happening in the library, that we need to be much clearer, and that it needs to be, the public needs to be able to look at it and be able to say, oh, I get it now. Right, you've gotten $5,000 of donations toward programs, and so we've got this, and we show where it was, or that there's still $1,000 left, or whatever. But this is the donations that are coming in and going out during the course of the year.
I think someone just said your 5 minutes was up on 3 minutes. No. I think what we need to do, okay, right now, we need to set up a ledger and a process so that when the monies come in to the library, it's registered in a ledger, okay? And that'll be something that Jan will work with Donna or whoever on the thing to do, okay? I don't think the semantics of exactly how we're gonna do it is important to, putting together these bylaws. We just need to know that we need to create a paper trail for everything that's coming in and leaving the library, okay? And at that point, it's a subcommittee could do the paper trail, okay?
So, Jan, are you adding anything to the 3.6?
3.6 suggests that,
Just to change this, the charitable trust unit of the Attorney General's office, correct?
right.
Okay.
Okay,
Think-
Beth, I'm sorry, Beth.
I just would like to remind us that we're on page 2 of the bylaws, and we're talking about trying to make these meetings shorter. One way we can do that is to not micromanage a really, really talented director and her team who are doing a fantastic job. Like, we could just not exist, and this place would still be running. Like, we're just here to sign the checks and to vote on the things so that they can just do their jobs, but we're literally micromanaging $15 in the drawer.
But
And $15 in the drawer isn't missing. we have to revise the bylaws, but not do their job.
I understand what you're saying, but we're not trying to micromanage this. We're trying to financially be fiscally and financially.
But that's another conversation. This
But
is
that's what the bylaws is about. This is what we do.
I think if we're talking about a spreadsheet, I don't think that's the bylaws.
Well, Jan's the treasurer, and if she needs certain information to perform her responsibilities,
Which
she
is to
should be
fill
able
out
to
the
get that information.
Again, I think that's a separate conversation.
No, it's not, because we need
Part
to
of the
put
bylaws.
in
We need.
what we need.
We need a paper trail for everything coming into the library and where it goes. Basically, by law, we're responsible for a paper trail of all assets coming in and dispersing, okay? And so we're going, whatever it takes to do that, we're gonna have to do. That's a law. You have to be able to explain, and you don't agree, Beth,
No,
well, maybe?
I'm saying that we all know that, but we're just talking in circles about something that is not part of the bylaws, and that's what we're revising right now.
It is part of the bylaws, because this is 3.6, which deals with this reporting to the charitable group at the Secretary of State's office.
Yeah, we were gonna follow up to see what the secretary said about the donations, and then it got into a person.
So we still are doing that, but this is, we're making the change. All I did was change
Yeah, I think
who
we
it
just
goes
move
to.
on, that's all.
Okay, well, there's this discussion about whether we do or we don't, or what's included, or who's gonna do it. I mean, we've had all those discussions, so.
Do we need to call a vote to see if we should move
No,
on?
we
Because
just need to
I
move
think,
on.
I think it's really important that we need to be able to account for everything, that comes across.
We all agree on that, Liz. We all
I'm sorry,
I agree.
We all agree. It's just time to
Okay.
move on.
Okay,
Alright, 3.7, there were no changes.
Liz?
Donna?
I had suggested to refer to the New Hampshire Library Trustee Association Code of Ethics in this section.
I actually have that with me, and I actually think, especially since we've had a member of our community point to that, it might be wise for us to put our code of ethics in our bylaws.
But it's not our code of ethics yet.
We
We
can
need to
We can
adopt
adopt
one.
one.
Right, we need to
And we
review
should-
it and work
we should
on it.
adopt one. Yeah, okay. So I'm just saying, I happen to agree, a code of ethics should be in our bylaws.
Okay, for future consideration.
Yes, for future
We need to put
consideration.
that on
Yes,
the
yes.
burner, and we need to take care of that, but that shouldn't stop us
No,
tonight
it
from
should not,
continuing.
it should not.
Okay, so we'll update the bylaws once that's
Yes.
discussed.
Right.
We can always amend the
Right,
bylaws and
exactly,
add that
okay.
in, that's what we'll do, yes.
Alright, so there was one, 3.8 was added regarding the, professional development.
The only question I would have on this is if there's a cost, who incurs the cost? I don't know that we got that far in this discussion.
For the professional development.
Correct.
I'm fine with us, I would think it was something to be reimbursed
Yeah.
from the
Well-
trustees fund.
Okay, let's consider that, okay?
Yeah.
When like the New Hampshire has its annual meetings,
Yeah.
okay? Each board member is responsible for paying for that
They're-
themselves.
Right, of course.
We don't pay for that type of training, okay?
So if there's something that is occurring, like at the New Hampshire Library Trustees Association, it could be a seminar or an all-day training event for new trustees, let's just say it's $50. Would the new trustee incur that cost, or would that be incurred by the
In the
board?
past, we've had to pay individually.
Okay.
I would think it should be,
Understand.
I would think it should be submitted to the board for reimbursement from the trustee funds.
And
I-
again, we couldn't vote on that because, we're paying for the staff, costs
Sure.
for enrichment, okay, and training, What, I guess, I hate to say we do have a trustees fund, but I think that, that's something, that's enhancing the value of the trustees to go to that training. So if it's gonna help someone to get there by, paying them, does someone wanna make a motion? Jan?
I'd like to make a motion that we add to 3.8, that the cost for professional development for board members,
would second that.
Okay, can we have a, show of hands? Okay, unanimous, we all agree on that, okay.
Okay. Duties and obligations, 1.1, there were no changes. 1.2, there were no changes. 1.3, there were no changes. 1.4, no changes. 1.5, no changes. 1.6, no changes. 1.7, no changes.
Nancy's question.
So I
Oh,
just wanna, I don't know
Nancy.
if this is the area that we should discuss this or not, but it seems to me, particularly since we have so much emphasis on our budget and keeping our costs in line, I think that it would be very appropriate and prudent for this board to appoint a budget subcommittee. I don't know if this is where that should go, Liz, so I defer to your
I'm in
opinion.
perfect agreement with that, okay?
Pardon? Okay.
I am in perfect agreement with that.
Okay.
That's so important, especially with the, you know, we're looking at, you know, with the new, you know, years
Right.
and stuff, yeah. No, that's one of the first things we need to do is a
Should that
budget
be in this
subcommittee.
section? Should that be in this
Maybe
section,
not
duties
this
and
section.
obligations? Where would you think that should go, Jan?
I would think it should go in this section, but I think it should not go in this, well, it should be in the boards, so maybe.
Maybe
Okay.
something about subcommittees.
So maybe it's down under another number, 1.10.
Kate
Same.
had suggested that we make a list of subcommittees that are often required.
Yeah, subcommittee list.
Yeah, I think that's good, because
Yep.
I think budget's very important.
Standing subcommittees versus, you know,
Yeah. Because these
Temporary.
documents are, they're fluid, you know, as things change. And
So
so,
we can
you
change
know,
them.
we're
What do
doing the
we-
bylaws today, 3 months later, we might have to do amendments to it,
So-
you know?
Right.
So it would be good to have a committee that is already familiar with and can deal with it, you know, more rapidly and stuff.
So section 1.10 is, what are we saying with that exactly?
The board will have a variety of standing subcommittees, including budget, bylaws,
Personnel.
I'm sorry,
Personnel.
personnel, definitely, absolutely.
or policies maybe.
Jan, do
And
you mind?
policies, personnel, and then we can have one other policies, because personnel is really hefty thing.
Okay, personnel
Yes.
and policies.
Jan,
And,
do-
wait, hang on,
Jan,
I'm
Jan,
sorry,
I'm sorry.
Donna was first, Donna?
I just wanted to suggest that be added to Article 1 organization as a new section.
I'm sorry, I can't.
My suggestion is to add it as a new section under Article 1 because it describes the organization of the board.
I'm sorry, what page you on?
Okay, under Article 1, put it under organization. I think it's
Make a new subcommittee section under
Yeah,
organization.
Section, so make a new section, not just a number 1.10, but add another section.
So there should be 1.3, is that what you're
Okay.
suggesting?
Are you fine with that?
That there'd be a new section, so say section 4 if you wanted it at the end,
I got what you're
and then there'd be a 4.1.
I think that, well, I never liked 4.1s, I mean, I never liked something that's 4.1 and there's no other numbers, but, that's my whole, that's a whole science thing, but, I think it's under duties and obligations, that I think it's an appropriate place to put it in here, because it's duties and obligations for
Yeah.
the
You know, I agree, I think it's simple to capture it there, okay?
Then, Jan, do you mind if I amend your language to board shall appoint subcommittees, budget, bylaws, personnel, however you wanna word it?
Sure, that sounds good.
To include.
To include,
To
there you go.
include, input those, and then we can also add more if we need to,
Yep.
okay? Okay, good.
Alright, so that was 1.10. So I added a new 1.11.
Trustees shall not use their Leach Library trustee title for any public or social media posts to voice their personal opinions. Trustees who break the law will be given one warning. After second occurrence, the trustee will be removed from the board.
I don't think you could say it's a law.
No, not the
Don't
law,
follow, don't follow the guidelines. How's that?
You said that was 1.11?
Yep.
I don't think we can remove anybody.
Donna?
I think that statement belongs in your code of ethics.
Me too.
So I think, if anything, you can refer to a code of ethics in your bylaws, but that belongs in your code of ethics.
I'm fine with sitting with that.
Yeah, we'll move it to the code of ethics, okay? Yes.
I have one more thing. I had given some. Actually, I had a question about 1.9 regarding the contracts.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that one yet. We haven't gotten to 1.8 yet.
You were just talking about 1.11.
I know, because we were going back and forth on other things.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get right back to that, okay?
Sorry. So 1.8, there were no changes. And then 1.9, contracts. I know we discussed, so adding to, so 1.9 was new, and then I wanted to add to that, we had discussed in a previous meeting that director to email all contracts coming up for renewal 2 months in advance. A list of all contracts will be made available when the budget will be discussed. So this was, again, because we had discussed it in a meeting, to give the trustees time, so we didn't get a lengthy contract at the last minute, and we had plenty of time to review it, and I believe we stated that, it's up to the trustees to monitor their emails, to make sure they read it, and if they don't, they don't.
Aaron?
If that's the case, I will have to only email those contracts to your board emails. They cannot be emailed to personal emails.
Okay. That's not a problem. That will be correct, yes.
So I just want to be clear that we're talking new contracts and contract renewals.
Correct.
Okay, and this would include everything from maintenance to databases to cleaning.
Anything
Like,
that's,
we're talking
in my
everything.
opinion,
A
anything
separate
Yeah, it
that's a
says
contract.
review any and all contracts associated with Leach Library is the first sentence.
Okay. I just want to note that if you're concerned about the length of your meetings, this is not going to help.
Well, it's not gonna be,
It's-
that's why we're asking,
It's going to be a lot.
that's why we ask it 2 months in advance.
Yeah, but are you planning to then discuss them at the meetings?
No, well, we have to vote on them at the meetings. So we'll have the time, on our own time,
To have
2 months
judges.
prior to that, to review it.
Okay,
And if
but also to be mindful that if I'm gonna give you a contract, it has to be, if it is gonna be voted on, it has to be at the meeting because the contract has its own expiration date, so that we'll have to be mindful of that.
Right, but if we get it, say, a month before the contract, so say the contract expires in June. If we get it in, April?
Yeah, 2 months before.
2
would be
months
April.
before.
I mean, you know your expiration date,
Right.
which you'd have to contact the
I know, I get
Yeah,
that, but,
okay.
okay.
I mean, that's
Hang
what we
on,
had discussed,
Jan.
right? Correct.
Jan,
So one of the things that we could, that I think would be helpful here is if there was a calendar that for every month that listed because most
things expire.
most things come up on an annual basis. They might come up on 3 years basis or whatever, but if we knew that in May, we always discuss rug cleaning and whatever, or that the copier maintenance comes up in September because that's when we bought it or whatever, that if we had that one document, we could add that to our little notebook, and that we would then know that there is contracts that are coming up unless it's a new one.
Or even if there's a shared Outlook calendar that lays out the whole year in advance that all trustees can access, that shows what is up one.
I don't know that we have a shared
Oh,
Outlook
the other thing is
anything.
not necessarily everyone uses Outlook, you know, so. I
Well,
don't know.
you should be using
Well,
Outlook,
Outlook
cause
is
that's
for
your email.
Yeah.
That's your email with the board.
Yeah, but I don't know that
But-
we have a calendar as part of that Outlook.
Yeah.
that
I
we
don't
have.
think
We don't.
you do, but
Okay, I think Erin was next.
I just wanted to say, I've actually already started doing that, creating a fiscal calendar for that, so I'm not saying it's perfect right now, because I haven't gotten a chance to call all the, companies and things that we have, contracts with, but it is something I'm working on,
Perfect, thank
so.
you. Thank you. Beth?
I just wanna again remind us that we don't have to micromanage a really talented director. She's not the babysitter, she doesn't need the binder of who to call, like she knows what she's doing. So we don't need to make a production every time the rugs need cleaning, like it's just, get the
Okay,
quotes,
May
say
I
yes.
speak?
Please.
So, this is not micromanagement, this is a fiduciary
I
responsibility.
get it, I
This
just,
board, may I finish please? This board is fiscally responsible for every dollar that is spent. So we are not saying that we wanna micromanage every waking hour, every minute of every day. But when a contract is coming up for renewal, I don't believe that we want her, for her own protection, Beth, to renew a contract for $500,000 for fill in the blank. That has to come before
I
this
get
board.
that.
So,
It's
so
an
what is your
RSA, it's the
objection?
law.
It's right.
Nancy,
So-
I don't know why it's all of a sudden so intensely like stated. I'm saying that some of the contracts are really, really nominal amounts of money.
Correct, so she just puts them on a piece of paper, they come to
I
the
know,
board,
but
we
it's-
look at them and you
it's-
go yippee, and it's done.
It's just so much time that they're putting
It's
into
not that much
sending.
time, it's not. She has a database, or she just mentioned that she's already started doing this, great.
I'm
So she
just
brings
saying
it
if
to us, we
it's-
go, great, carpet cleaning's being renewed, maintenance on the computers are being renewed, boom, boom, boom,
Let's
done.
see it's May.
As trustees, we should be able to receive any documents that we
No one's
request.
hiding anything.
I've
I'm just again stating that.
I'm
when
not
we say
saying
something-
anyone's
Beth just
hiding.
made a statement, let's
No,
not.
I'm not
just
saying that,
Let's keep moving.
Okay.
Okay,
2.1, the last sentence has changed. Are we at, yeah,
True.
2.1, library director, the last sentence.
Now what does it change to?
What's the change?
It was just a new ad.
Where?
Can you read it?
The last sentence, library director's terms of employment.
Oh, that was added to
Oh,
it?
that's the, that's the.
Oh, I thought you said I thought you meant there was a change
No, that
after
was
the
the new
fact.
ad.
Okay, my apologies.
Right.
can I clarify something 1 minute? I have a question, Erin.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard yes and I've heard no. When you were hired,
Mm-hmm.
did you have a contract that you signed?
I did not.
Okay,
It does not exist.
okay, so I think.
I've answered a couple of 91As regarding that. I've answered emails regarding that.
Okay.
It does not exist.
Okay,
And I believe we have 2 people in the audience that were on the hiring committee for me, and they can speak to that if no one believes me. But
No,
it does not exist.
Not that we don't believe you.
no, we just wanted to know, yeah.
Vicki Stikowski, 25 Shasta. I was on the hiring committee when we hired Ann, and there was no contract.
No terms of
We-
conditions or
Okay.
We
anything?
No.
made the offer to her, the financial offer. And if she accepted that, which she did, then we went over the benefits, but there was no contract.
Okay, thank you.
And it was for her protection as well as ours at
Yep.
that point. But that's true there, and I've heard that too. Was there a contract? There was no contract.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes,
We are required, according to the RSAs, to have a contract with the director.
yes, we are.
So, since we don't have one, we need to, fix that somehow. Or make a contract based on, at some point. It says that we have to have a contract with the library director, and, with a fixed amount of time that you can obviously,
The length of contract.
you can
Yeah.
obviously say, we're gonna just renew that or whatever, but that's what the RSA requires.
Yeah, can't be open-ended. Yes, Donna?
I believe the RSA uses the same language that says the board may create a contract with the director. In this
I don't
case,
think
the
so.
board at the time did not create a contract And it also needs to be, and it needs to happen at the time of hire, which obviously has passed.
Well,
So that was my note, why that state.
Well, if it was done wrong, it should be corrected though.
correct.
But the board at the time of hire decided not to implement the contract.
Right, but we're.
Right, but it was against the RSA.
It was
So
not. It
not
says
done
may.
wrong.
It might have been.
No, it wasn't. I was a trustee for 20 years.
Okay.
And it wasn't done incorrectly. It was done Donna assisted. It was Michael York, the state librarian. And there was no RSA that said she had to have a contract.
But they have revised the RSA. I don't know what year they revised them, but they have revised the
But
RSA.
that would be at the time of hire.
August of 2023.
August 2023.
Which
Okay.
I believe is after she was hired.
2023.
It was after she was hired.
2023.
Well, maybe we need to contact the town attorney.
I think we'll contact the Secretary of State's office, because I do believe that if the employment pre-exists, okay, and now there's a new RSA, I think we're gonna have to create a contract, and with the, with Aaron, having input in it. I'm speaking to her, okay? And, but we need to get legal consultation.
Will you contact the Secretary of State?
Yes,
And or
absolutely.
the town attorney?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm gonna talk to the Secretary of State's
Okay.
attorney, I've spoken to them several
Okay.
times, yeah. Yes,
So the RSA in question is 202-A:15 Public Librarian Qualification and Tenure. The portion of it that speaks to this says the librarian shall be appointed by the Board of Trustees for a term of office agreed to at the time of employment and until a successor is appointed and qualified. At the time of employment, she was hired with the personnel policy, which states that she is an at-will employee. So her term is indefinite.
Her term is at will. So
At
it's
will.
at will on either side.
Yes, but there's no like end term.
Right.
Okay,
That's why
but it's at will at both sides. So it's like, okay, she
With
can decide she
like,
doesn't want it, we can decide.
With cause, if you're going to end employment, it needs to be with cause.
But it doesn't say that, that's why you have a contract.
okay.
That's the
that's-
personnel
Right,
policy.
we're getting
One moment. Laura?
I think we are getting outside of the bounds of what we can discuss in public, and I think we should discuss that at another time
After we
with
have
our
input.
group, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So moving on, 2.1A, there were no changes to that. 2.2, looks like the last sentence, starting with in the case of substitute temporary employees, was removed.
So wait.
So it's
Got it,
not
got
there
it.
anymore.
Corrected, yeah.
It's not there
So,
anymore.
yeah, it's in case of substitute temporary employees, library director shall have the interim authority to appoint without prior approval of the board, provided that any such appointment shall be reported to the board at its next regular meeting. The board needs to be the deciding,
Well, and can you think of a condition that, Aaron, that you'd have to appoint
Well,
a temporary person type of thing?
I don't think it's appropriate for me to appoint someone.
Yeah,
I think the
okay.
board would have to appoint someone.
Okay.
The board hired the director, the board, I mean, if you're talking about out on a medical leave, I think all of that would be discussed under what kind of terms and conditions that looks like, but
Yeah.
if we're talking about, I don't know what kind of situation we could be talking about, but I think it would all have to be, as a situation comes up, would need to be discussed with the board, and the board would make that decision.
And basically, that's what it says,
Correct.
that
Yeah,
the board
I'm
would be
I'm agreeing
involved.
with that.
Yeah, good, okay, good, we're all set with that one.
2.3, it got changed to trustees, the appointment or termination of all library employees. Library director shall recommend to board of trustees the appointment or termination of all library employees, and it's specific to the RSA.
And which we do now, I think, don't we?
Was supposed to.
We do that.
Yeah, anytime you need to terminate, you consult us,
Mhm.
anytime you wanna hire, you consult us.
Right.
So that, so what
Right.
she's
That
saying,
makes
the
sense.
terminology.
Yeah, I just added or termination because that wasn't in
Yeah,
there.
of termination, okay, good. Yeah.
2.4, there were no changes. I actually, backing up a little bit, I did add 2.3.1, director shall ensure an exit interview is scheduled with HR and available for the trustees to attend as well.
I would have to check with HR. I would check with the lawyer on that one and the HR on that one. That the trustees, because if I'm doing an exit interview with, so my understanding is that if I have an employee and I'm doing an exit interview with them, I'm meeting with HR and all of you together to remove this person or to this person's leaving. That seems a little, I feel like that's an HR issue that we should double check on because I don't know if that's
I will
appropriate.
talk to-
Yeah.
Okay, but it will at least add,
I have no problem
add
doing the exit. I just don't know if
Were you
everybody
saying
needs
a trustee or the board of trustees?
just if the if anyone on the
Okay.
board of trustees wanted to
Want to
attend
sit
that
in on
exit
it?
interview.
Yeah,
That's
and
Then
again,
we should receive copies of those as well.
yes, yeah.
So
And
we're
again,
aware.
I will check tomorrow because, and I'll talk to personnel. Well,
Okay.
they'll say right away.
Okay.
You know, so if they say, yeah, it's okay for a trustee to be there, but if they say, no, it's between, you know, the hiring agent, who would be Erin, and personnel agent, then we wouldn't include.
I would be concerned if the whole board had to be there.
No,
That seems a
not
bit
saying
excessive.
No, the intent, I don't think, was for the whole board
Okay,
to be there,
okay.
for a trustee, you know, type of thing,
Okay.
you know.
All right, so 2.4, there were no changes. 2.5 was a new ad, and then we discussed at our meeting, that's why the 200 was highlighted in yellow, because we also mentioned 500 as another, I know another town listed 500.
I don't think that you can get much of anything for 200 today. I think that, you know, if you've got something you have to do emergency fast or something, 500 would be more appropriate, in my opinion. But that's only my opinion.
I would agree, 500 would be more.
Donna?
Okay.
So,
500?
Well, Donna's talking. Can you let her?
Sorry.
Can you let her speak?
the suggestion I shared is that this, you actually just have a statement referring to the purchasing policy because you wanted to implement a purchasing policy and the amount could be in the purchasing policy. The purchasing policy also leaves room for emergencies where this statement does not.
Which I believe Kate from the public did mention that as well.
And so what's the amount in the purchasing policy?
That's up
We
to
don't-
you.
we
You haven't
don't have
approved
one.
it yet.
Oh, we
You
need
don't
to
have
have
one.
Yet.
Okay, so whatever we pick here, we're gonna have to
Add
move
into
that,
purchasing
we'll
policy.
add that in when we do the purchasing policy.
Could we just reference the the purchasing policy here and then we'll update it?
But we don't have one.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
could we reference it so it's there and then update it or create it when we talk
Well, we'll
about
have it here, and then once
Right.
it's up to created, then we can always,
Right now, they're limited to 200. Let's at least say 500, okay, if we're in agreement?
well, it's
And-
not limited to 200 right now, I believe it's much more than that.
Oh,
This was
okay.
a whole new ad.
Oh,
And
okay.
200 was, I believe Maura did the, research that one town had 200 in their policy and another one had 500. So that was left open for discussion for this meeting.
Okay,
That was brought up during public comment.
I feel that we should have this statement for now here, because we don't have that purchasing policy.
Correct.
And it doesn't, if they both agree with each other, it doesn't matter that it's in two different places,
Right,
okay?
and seeing how long it takes for us to
Yeah,
get to
any
updating these
policies done,
documents, so.
yeah. Does someone wanna make a motion?
No, we
I
don't
don't
need
think
to.
we need to do a
No,
motion.
we're all
If
set,
everyone's
500,
agreed with
everyone
500.
agrees, 500? Donna, what?
If you're going to keep this, I really strongly recommend including a statement about emergencies because 500 is not going to cover the boiler breaking in the middle of winter and us needing to get it back up and running. I'm asking if this means that the budget line this is if we have to go over a budget line. Is that the case, or does this mean something different than that? Is this any time we're spending $500?
If they're spending well, what I take it is if you're spending funds outside of the normal budget amounts, so outside of
So if we have to go over,
you're spending money for something you haven't already budgeted for, like you decide you want, I don't know, pink carpeting in the hallway or something, and you hadn't budgeted for that pink carpeting, since that's a new item, you could pay up to $500 for the pink carpeting.
So
Or-
how would that apply to what I was saying with the maintenance? So technically there's a maintenance line that is supposed to cover those emergencies, right? And say we need to repair the boiler and it's gonna cost $4,000.
Mhm.
That's within the budget line, but it's over $500. Does it need to come to the board first, or can we spend it?
If it's an emergency, we would have to have an emergency phone call.
but,
Yeah.
That's an
so,
illegal
but then
meeting.
that's an illegal meeting, which as we discovered at the last meeting, was not okay.
Then we put something down for emergency, but
Okay, you're
Well, that's all, I
saying,
think
so if
all we're
you
asking is
choose-
for some sort of statement that allows me to spend for an emergency situation.
who currently repairs the boiler? If you have a boiler problem, who currently, if the roof leaks, who do you call?
Dave,
Dave, okay,
From DPW.
so if the roof leaks, you call Dave, and because we have supposedly, well, eventually we'll have an MOU with the town, but we call them, because that's their facilities, right?
right,
So if we had a boiler leak, that's not considered part of the facilities,
nope, that's, E&E's a separate vendor.
okay?
And if the boiler broke down and we don't have heat, we can't open.
So you're saying if you alone
And
make
the
that
pipes could burst.
decision,
It
it's
could be worse.
okay, but if a trustee makes that decision, it's no longer okay, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm
No.
saying that we're not gonna be in a situation to be able to wait for your next board meeting to have you approve that expense if it's an emergency. That's what I'm saying. So you need at least a statement that gives you room for emergency expenses.
But in the case if the boiler broke, it's nothing that the library would have to approve, it would go through facilities, correct?
No,
The
it is the
library would have
library.
to do it.
Even though we would have an MOU with,
If it's not included in what the MOU states.
The plumbing and everything else is not included in it, right? Yeah, the plumbing, the heating, all of that is.
so do we add a statement that in case of emergencies to keep the library open? Go ahead, Jen.
I would say something about, that in a case of emergency, the director will contact the, chair for permission to exceed the limit.
Okay, but there's a potential I'm calling the chair at 2:00 in the morning.
I don't care.
Okay,
I don't care. My phone is plugged in at my bedside.
and what if I can't get in touch with the chair?
And you call the vice chair.
My ringer's off, so.
And what if I can't get in touch with the vice chair?
Correct.
Okay. I anticipate an issue, but I'll go with it.
Well, but usually you don't, when someone comes to do a repair, they don't come to do a repair and say, give me the check before I do the
No,
repair.
I'm talking about an emergency situation where the boiler completely stops working, our pipes could freeze. There was a night where it was -15, Don and I slept over so the pipes wouldn't freeze. That's the situation I'm referring to. I'm not talking about a potential fix on the boiler. I mean, that we are waiting for the next meeting to get the invoice, which I presented. I'm talking about an emergency situation where if the boiler doesn't get fixed, and we're talking about a Saturday at 5:00, or a Saturday later even, and we're closed Sunday and no one's here, that's where I would be concerned, because by not fixing that, it could potentially cost more with other issues, or in any emergency, I guess you could say. That's the only thing I would be concerned about. But if the board wants to have this procedure with the risk of it costing more, I'm fine with that.
I think if there's some statement that says, in the case of an emergency, blah, 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 it can be, either they contact the chair is where I would go, but that's
Okay.
where it's done with other committees that I've been on. But, if there's, some other phrasing you'd like, that's okay, it's just there needs to be, so that you feel comfortable with it. Again, I don't think that anybody's gonna say, I have to have a check today, an emergency situation, you know, we can bring it up when it comes up, you know. The
But not
next meeting, we can say there was an emergency and it cost us $600, not $500. Fine.
But it's not necessarily signing the check that day, it's just getting approval to have the,
To have the work
repair.
done.
Like, if they're gonna do it,
Well,
she's
so-
saying, yes, we'll cover the bill, and she's saying, can I say, please do the repair? Like,
So for emergencies, I would say we have a different, that we can allow something that says, you know, for emergencies, whatever, contact you, contact, not her. You can contact me. It should just notify the board that there's been an emergency and you've had to exceed the limit. I don't know. And then at the regular meeting, you just tell us what it was. We don't want you to go without heat in the building. We don't want you to go without water, you know, or without lights or any of those things. So, you know, if it's something that requires, you know, if it's something that's an emergency that keeps the building from being closed or risks the building or its collection, puts those at risk, then you could exceed it with contact, you know, letting somebody on the board know that it's happening.
Can we say something about special accommodations given to emergency situations that relate to
I like that.
Yeah.
Special accommodation.
items
Yeah.
that
Yeah, because if it's a case
facility, you know,
of,
Or
the
like
library's gonna
risk,
be
like
shut
the
down.
building at
Yeah.
risk, or
Yeah, if it's
Something
a
like
case
that.
like the library's
That
gonna
would
shut down or
give
you
me
get
more
it
comfort.
fixed
How,
then.
how are we writing this?
Special accommodations.
or special permission given for, or something like, I'm not good with words at this point.
well, I would just say
Situations
special
where the building-
accommodations regarding special.
Building safety, building,
And one minute. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna agree with her, like special accommodations, that would put the building staff or patrons at risk.
Yeah, building staff or library
Yeah,
hours.
no,
you know,
building
or-
staff or patrons,
Yeah, okay.
Or collection.
or, yeah, anything within the building. That's what building, I would assume
Yeah.
would cover everything.
Cause we don't wanna put anything at risk, you know?
Okay, so special accommodations, that would put the building staff, patrons, or collection at risk.
Special accommodations will be made.
yeah, or
What do
at
you
the
mean?
discretion of the
Yeah,
Director.
we're basically telling you, you know, you need an answer now.
Well, most likely I'll probably say yes and then let you know that I said yes,
And let us
because
know at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
I can't, you know, if something's happening, I
You're
can't.
just
say
gonna
yes.
say yes
Usually-
and you're gonna call me.
I mean, we've had
Okay.
water
Say yes,
coming from the
then-
ceiling, I'm gonna make the
Are-
call.
Are we adding in the, director will contact the chair, vice chair, and treasurer?
I would just say
or-
special accommodations are made
And that's the special
Or-
accommodations.
Succession or something.
They make
regarding
emergencies.
safety, building,
Yeah.
patrons, staff, collections, and, we'll notify the board at the next meeting.
And everyone, wait.
Yep.
They should notify the chair as soon as possible, but.
No, I would most likely email the entire board that,
Okay,
of the
yeah.
situation. If it was an emergency, the board's gonna know, like when we had the flood,
Yeah,
you know, I would
good
definitely
enough.
email the
Yeah,
board and let them
contact-
know, because most likely, people are gonna go, why is the building closed, and you guys will have to answer that.
Make the decision you need
Yeah.
to make,
Yeah,
okay?
I would
And
absolutely,
just send us an email at everyone.
I would absolutely
So we
communicate with
know.
the board,
So
yeah.
Do you wanna be notified by phone and then all trustees by email?
I don't think you need to do that.
Okay, she's saying not necessary.
Okay, so
Okay.
just by email.
Donna, yes,
This statement is already in the draft of the purchasing policy, so it can just be pulled out of there if you want. It says, in the event of an emergency, the library director shall have the authority to make such immediate purchases as deemed necessary, provided that all reasonable efforts to contact the chair or treasurer of the library board of trustees have been made. Once the emergency has been resolved, the library director shall submit a detailed report of all emergency expenditures to the library board of trustees.
There it is.
ditto, let's just
So
put it in
what
both
section
places.
is that?
This is from the purchasing policy,
We don't have that.
the draft.
Yeah,
The
No, I
draft,
know, but I'll pull it from the draft.
It's under emergency purchasing, which is section 4 and letter D.
already been invented, thank you. Okay, next, Christine.
So regular meetings, 1.1. So we removed, July and August, may be canceled at the discretion of the trustees, because we probably need more meetings than that, especially with budget, so we agree that we should have
Yes.
meetings for the summer.
Yep.
And then we added, all regular and subcommittee meetings will be open to the public and will be video recorded.
Yep, if we have a subcommittee meeting, it's gonna be video recorded. How do we know if we have video recording information devices that's there?
We recorded ours, we did it here.
Yeah, we had an audio for the, for our.
But it says video recording.
Well, I mean, we have video set up here now.
Can I respond to that? Okay. So usually Donna and I would most likely have to be present at those meetings in order to run the video, to do the recording, so.
Can we change that to audio or video
Sure.
recorded? No,
Yes. Audio and or.
video, yeah. That way if we can do video, we will. If we
Right.
can't, we at least have we have the audio, okay? Yeah,
Typically, my understanding is if there's a subcommittee meeting that has less than 3 board members on it, that,
it does not need to.
it does
yeah.
not require, the recording and meets the,
RSA.
NSA, the
Yeah.
91A, requirement for, minutes and all that stuff.
Dan, do you have a comment on that?
Surprise, Dan.
And moving your,
Whatever
moving
makes
your
you
chair.
happy.
Okay. You're not aware that if there's less than 3 board members at a meeting, that it does not have to be recorded?
I'm not aware of that.
So you don't know either of them? Okay.
Alright, so 1.2, the first intro sentence is the same, we just added, some additional, yeah.
Points.
And I also wanted to add to make sure the camera's turned on, so that'll be a, just as a reminder, that it should be done. And then, I don't know where, I'm assuming we'll put it after other business, town update if liaison is present.
I would think that would go under where the library director's reports and stuff are there. I think it would go there.
Yeah, before old business.
Yeah.
Yeah, right under there, Christine, yeah.
So before old business.
Yeah, right before old business, yeah.
Or I can do the public comment.
Town liaison.
We'll be calling on you.
So do we wanna
public
add,
comment.
I know, Nancy, who had commented to this at our meeting, to add a section for deliberations, so we knew exactly
So what we're voting on.
what we were voting on.
That would be very helpful, because then that way, if we know we're deliberating, then obviously Erin will know exactly which items need to be on the agenda and documentation available for the public, because that's what we'll be voting on. Yes.
So where do we want to add that in our list?
Old business?
I didn't hear you, what?
Is it old business because it's something that we would have already discussed?
I
Old
think-
business / deliberations?
Yeah, that might make more sense, Christine.
And can you
Yeah.
clarify again one more time, deliberately?
Deliberations. So that means that we're talking about things that we're going to be voting on that evening. We might be voting on
Okay,
a budget, we might be voting on some contracts.
so there could be multiple things?
Oh, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay,
But that is the section of the agenda where we're voting. We're
and if
discussing-
right now we're not reporting it, we're gonna start reporting it.
Right,
Okay, thank you,
yes ma'am.
thank you. Donna, hang on, Donna was first, yeah, Donna.
I just wanted to ask about the hard copy only for my report. Right now I am like giving you at least a overview of my report, even if I don't go through the whole thing. This would change that. And I think personally that there are things that I'm sharing that you should know about. But obviously it's up to you whether you want
What is
that
your
or not.
question?
So the change to the letter F on the agenda, is
Oh.
to make the assistant director and department head reports hard copy only, which would mean that I do not give you an overview of my report.
That was because we had discussed, just having Erin attend and then having, you come as needed or as requested by the board. So if we had a hard copy only, that would have all your information in it if you were not present.
Right,
And
which
again-
later on I guess we can discuss it at the same time then. I mean, obviously it's up to you whether you have me here or not, but I do think there are scenarios when it's been very helpful to have me here, especially if Erin can't answer all of your questions because I'm the one that oversees it or what have you. I also am currently keeping an eye on all the recordings, so if you want to continue recording, it will be very difficult for Erin to be very engaged in your conversation and also keeping an eye on that. I've also served as kind of note taker, so you have other documentation. I mean, I know Beth's taking over for secretary too, but while you've had the recording secretary, I've been kind of a backup where the recording secretary is not here present in this room. So just things to consider.
Well, I mean, if we have the video for the recording secretary,
Yeah.
if she needs to review that.
Just to let you know where this comes from, there's documentation and other things that say that the librarian, the director will be at the meetings,
Mhm.
that her staff would come at our request,
Correct.
and that's how it's stated. But I got to, Erin, can you give me a second, Dan?
I just wanna add that, like at the town council meeting,
Yeah.
we have the town manager, we also have the assistant town manager there. Cause they can both provide us with information to help us make decisions.
So they work as a team,
Right.
and they should work on it, yeah, okay, yes.
I would like to advocate that Donna does attend the meetings, to all of her points and obviously to Dan's point. We reference a lot that we want to follow town council's processes, and in this case, we would be doing that as well. So I would like Donna to be able to attend the meetings.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
It's nice to reference the town council, what the town council does or whatever, but, for many things, we are a separate entity, and we also have a separate list of requirements by the RSAs. So, although, we certainly can say, we're gonna do this because the town council does this, and I'm not saying we're not gonna do this, but, just that, we are a separate entity that's not covered under the town charter or whatever, because it's separated by the New Hampshire RSAs, not by us.
Yeah, I understand that, but there's been many moments where Liz herself has referenced that she redid the agenda to match town council. So that's why I brought that
Yes.
up. So
Yes.
there were moments where we are doing something similar based on, I think this particular situation is based on need and information that we can provide to you that won't necessarily have to be put off to the next meeting.
Helen.
I'd like to remove the language that says hard copy only. I like having information that comes from Donna. I'm all for shortening our meetings, but if we knew we had a very lengthy agenda, maybe we'd say, hey Donna, this week, can you take a pass on this one, right? But I don't feel that's necessary, I feel like we could take that out.
Okay, well, I guess we need to decide whether, if we go further in, so I guess the trustees need to decide, maybe we just need a vote from each person on whether or not they want Donna at every single meeting or as needed. Because if she's not
What
here
section
for
is that in?
every,
It's still the regular meetings.
Is it
no,
written?
she's asking,
Is it written somewhere else?
yeah, on the next section, 1.3.
Oh,
Well, I'd like to I'd like to take out hard copy only, and then in 1.3, I'd like to take out the last sentence and just leave it, that the library director shall attend, the assistant director and other department heads will also attend on an as-needed basis. I don't need a sentence that says, we will tell them we want them there. They can just come, Donna can just come.
Yeah. So I'd like to get, input from the rest of the trustees on that, please.
I agree. I don't see any reason why we would exclude a member of the team
I've been coming to these
I mean, I
meetings for
agree to
years.
Deanne's point, you know, the town manager and
Yeah.
the assistant town manager show up and they work as a team, and when one doesn't have information, maybe the other one does, or maybe someone recalls something differently than the other. So I actually feel I would advocate for the assistant to be here.
I've been coming for years, and I can't think of a time where Donna hasn't presented something meaningful, and she's really helped keep us like focused on, you know, what. I mean, you just know so much of the inner workings of the library, and how would we make decisions on things if we don't have that, you know, in the moment knowledge. Like, it's just really important.
Liz?
Donna adds value, extreme value, okay? My one concern, okay, and is compensation, okay? Cause if people are here from 9 in the morning till 9 at night, then you're doing compensation. And I've been warned by, you know, by the town financial director that we've got liabilities because we carry so much overtime, you know, compensated time. And then it gets sold off at the end of the fiscal year. So I would like to see if there was a way that, you know, if you guys, you know, have to come in, if you have to both come to the meeting at night, if maybe you could come in later on in the day type of thing. And I know you say you have a lot of prep work to do for the board meeting and stuff. And, okay, I got 2 hands up. Let's start with Dawn.
So we already do that. My schedule today is 1 to 9 to accommodate this meeting.
Okay.
So
Oh, it
it's,
does?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
However, it's after 9.
We already shift our schedules, and
To your point.
we don't. The library does not have overtime. I want to be clear about that. There's no overtime
It's
budgeted.
compensated time.
There's admin time.
Admin time.
Admin time is budgeted, and in the personnel policy, there's a limit on it of 60
Yes.
hours.
Yeah,
So any extra time, like beyond the 9 o'clock,
You lose it.
is admin time
I know, okay, yeah,
that I would be compensated for within the 60 hours.
okay,
But there's there's no exceeding that.
yeah. So I personally, if there's no, you know, financial gain to doing this, you know, for trying to save money for the town, then I personally don't have a problem with both of you being here. I think you both have value, and both of you have added value to each other, you know, and as long as, like I said, again, my only concern was, you know, financially, you know, is this affecting us in any way financially? And it appears like it's not, from what you're saying, because your schedule is just adjusted for,
So the
Yes.
admin time, you said it's limited to 60 hours
Per year.
per year?
for you.
Okay. So if you take some of that, you can't take some of that and move it around,
Right, so I can use it instead of like vacation or something.
okay?
So sometimes we do that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll use that time instead of using time off. So that would drop that number down, obviously. But if at the end of the year, you have somewhere between 1 and 60 hours, you can cash it out. And the only 2 staff members that are budgeted for that right now in the budget are Aaron and I.
Okay, so you're covered both,
It is budgeted.
yeah.
So if you use that towards vacation time, it brings the amount down, so you're still accruing technically over the 60, correct? Am I understanding that right?
No, so say I'm going to take 8 hours of vacation and I choose to use 4 of it with admin time. So that drops down, and I had a total of 10 hours. That drops my admin time down to 6, and I'm still using 4 hours of vacation.
And it doesn't
That
prevent
makes
them from, during the year, gaining more than 60 hours, or what is it, 60?
The total limit is 80 hours.
80, it's 80.
But the
it just-
cash out amount limit is 60.
Yeah. The cash out amount is 60, the total amount they can carry is 80, but even if they can go up to 84, but I believe it's just, it's that sellout date, that June 30th, you're only gonna get paid for 60 of those hours. Yes,
Okay, so I think I suggested taking out this sentence, the trustees will notify the director in advance for when attendance is required for those other people. Nancy liked it, Beth liked it, I think Liz liked it. What about this side of the table?
But we're speaking to Jan didn't finish yet, that's why we're making our rounds.
Well, she started asking off questions, so I'm just trying to get us back on track.
Okay.
We started
Well,
asking
no.
questions about Donna's admin time and
Okay,
vacation.
all right, Jan,
And again, it's 9:20.
what would you like to do?
It's, well, I was asking the question, I was asking clarification based on the information that Donna had given. First, I couldn't hear whether it was 16 or 60, and then I was asking if this renews. So in other words, if you use 10 hours, you use that, you used it as vacation time, now you're back down to 50, now can you
Yes.
get another 10?
If
You
It's
can
rolling
accrue
time.
another time.
you could accrue if the need is
Yeah.
there.
Okay, so it, although it is called admin time, it's functioning, I mean, it's something we end up having to pay for, that's the whole
Right.
point, is that
Yeah.
we need to
It's
limit this, this is the area we have to.
considered in budgeting as a financial liability,
Right.
okay? There's a financial liability to it, okay? But,
Okay, that's all.
yes,
And we
Donna?
have a
I mean,
financial
the-
incentive to end by 9, everybody.
The same thing is gonna happen
Yeah.
if either of us go to a town meeting to present the budget.
Yep.
Um,
Right.
because we have no control over how long those meetings are. Even if we shift our schedule,
Mhm.
you're still looking at some time. Like when we go to deliberative session, I try to put it in my schedule, but it doesn't always work out that way. So there's more than just this meeting that's going to still contribute to admin time.
You have training and other things that you go to.
And
too.
there are
Yeah.
times where we're covering shifts that,
Do you wanna speak to it while Jan's
Okay,
thinking?
I don't know.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter, doesn't matter.
I'm gonna throw the elephant out, okay?
Can we
I know.
mean, we're just trying to, I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
no.
get consensus from all the trustees on how they feel. And, you know,
Okay.
we've had, I'm waiting for,
Want to call for
Jan
roll
and
call?
Laura. No, I'm just,
No.
we don't need a roll call, I
Oh,
just,
Laura.
I just wanted to ask a clarifying question, because I don't understand what you're talking about here. When Justin said we have a liability,
Yeah,
does this stuff carry over year?
no,
No.
the liability
pay
is
out.
that we gotta pay in cash on the last day of June.
But keep
Okay,
in mind,
So we
this-
have to pay out, we have to make sure that there's enough budget money left in the budget to be able to stay in the black and
Okay.
pay out the vacation time.
So did he give you an idea of what the financial liability is total?
No, it depends on, you know, if you're gonna go over budget, okay, and it's all dependent on what you have left in the bottom line budget, okay? And basically, but that's what it is, it's just considered a liability because it's a debt that's owed. It's considered a debt that's owed, maybe that's more, a more clarifying statement than a liability. Yes,
Which was the point I was asking about, was if vacation time can be used, I mean, you can use 10 hours of vacation time out of that 60, so now you're down to 50,
yeah.
and now you can accrue more and get back up to the 60. How do we calculate out how much money is, we need to have to be able to do that if every time we turn around, we've gotta, it adjusts. So, I mean, the maximum is 60 that we can pay out, but if we've also, given it as vacation time, we've kind of paid it out there too. I don't know how that works. So, that was what I was asking about.
Okay, wait a minute. Someone works,
can Donna just come to the meetings?
oh,
I think
okay,
that's what we're.
someone works overtime, 10 hours, okay? They can take 10 hours at any time, or they can sell it back at the end of the year, okay, or the fiscal year.
Or if they use it, they'll
Well-
have space that they can add more in. That's what I was trying to get
Yes,
to.
yeah,
So how much, so
it's
how do we budget for
fluctuating all
that?
the time, yes, it's,
How do we budget for that? That's all. That was the
Yeah.
question I was asking. How do we budget for that? That's all.
okay, so do you want Donna to attend, or, I mean, are we removing the last sentence in 1.3 or no?
When
The,
attendance
Or,
is required.
just, I mean, sorry, just, should Donna attend every meeting or just as needed?
No, every meeting. 13, in my opinion.
okay, Donna, I'm sorry, you have a question.
I was just gonna note that it's not just the last sentence.
Right.
Christine covered that.
Yeah, okay. And I'm gonna throw the elephant out because it's not here, but Usually you bring Megan into all the meetings also.
We have not brought Megan to meetings in quite some time, and she's attended what it's been like, like she's had something to report related to
Okay, good.
circulation.
All right. So
Like,
that's not a regular
no,
procedure?
no,
Okay, that's all I need to know.
no.
That's, nothing more needs to be said on that.
I don't think
Okay.
it matters.
Did you have a comment?
No, I was just trying to get, we need, 2 more people to weigh in, I'm just trying to get okay, so
Keep
Donna
going.
to attend every meeting.
I think
Yeah.
we've got a consensus, so I think it's time to move on.
Okay. Next.
Goodness.
Alright, I also added, up above, prior to the meetings, I'm sorry, I forgot to add it, an employee performance review and proposed merit increases will be presented to trustees for approval.
Where were you adding that?
I'm adding it to, I guess, before 2.4, just above the meetings.
Wait,
So in Article 2,
wait, I thought we were,
we were, and I'm going down the page and I made a note with an arrow and
Okay.
I apologize, I missed
Two-
it.
2.4 you said it's gonna be in?
Yeah, or in that section,
This is for the library directors.
correct.
Okay.
And what, I'm sorry, can you repeat what you
So,
said?
all employee performance reviews and proposed merit increases will be presented to trustees for approval, because we have yet to see anything, and I believe that is required by law, that it's, presented to the trustees.
What do you mean we haven't seen anything?
I haven't
We don't get
seen
any-
any raises or
Oh, I
any
thought you were
reviews or
talking about
anything.
reviews, okay.
We haven't seen this
Erin?
yet.
So to clarify, what my expectation is that, am I bringing these reviews to you? Because, for example, like, all of my department head do reviews of their staff. So if Donna does a review of a staff member, 1, it would have to go into non-public. 2, am I bringing you that review that Donna did already presented to the staff member, or are we going to have to wait for your approval for the staff member to get their merit increase?
We need the information.
But,
prior
so
to
you're
approval.
giving so what I understand is then you guys are approving this merit increase when you have no idea what this employee does.
Well, that's why we need to get the information.
But-
I believe didn't we look this up
I-
like
Yeah.
5 times in
Yeah.
state law?
To state law.
That the
Well,
trustees are
Can we
giving-
reference that state law then? Because I just wanna get clarification. It
Sure,
seems,
say that to you.
It's one of the 2 twos.
That narrows it down.
I tried to get it.
And again, I'm gonna say honestly, I've struggled with this because that means you have to go into public. I mean, now you have, 18 employees, and you have to go into public, into non-public and discuss every one. So it's going to extend the meetings, obviously.
I just struggle with someone else making a decision for someone's merit that has no idea what they do, or work with them on a daily basis. So I'm just trying to understand the RSA.
Which we haven't found yet, which one, do we know which one it is?
Do we
We
know,
might-
can we reference
People are
that?
referencing it, but we don't know which one it is.
We are looking
evidently.
for it.
Yes.
So,
Jan.
So, one of the ways that this could be handled would be if we had a calendar of the times that in May, we have the
The reviews.
following reviews are coming
Yes,
up, or
yeah.
whatever, that there's some information about, we don't even have that at this point. We hear that, Mary has been here since 1992 or whatever, but we don't necessarily hear that, here's the performance reviews being done this week, this month. That would be helpful from that standpoint, I don't know. At least we would have some information. Right now, we don't have any.
Yes.
So, I trust the people that we have hired to do their reviews. It would certainly seem appropriate and prudent to me that they conduct their annual reviews on their staff, which is part of what we've hired them to do, is it not? And if someone is in line for a raise, I would assume that they would come and tell us, Mary's been here for X number of years, she's had a great review this year, we're putting in for her raise of, X number of dollars. And we would say either yes or no, based on their recommendation. I don't know, I have no desire to read every single review that comes across the table. We don't have time for that. That's just my perspective. I'm waiting for the RSA.
So my question for that is, would
I
that,
think online with
Well,
it.
you people reference it, it would be helpful if you came and had it.
Okay.
Just saying.
There have been times you've had RSAs that you've referenced that you haven't had.
Oh, no, I don't
Okay,
reference RSAs,
ladies,
Jan.
ladies, thank you, we're all friends and we're all just doing the best we can. And it's getting late and we're all getting tired, but,
It's
you know, again,
202-11-5.
we have been researching through the RSAs and we've been
202.
finding different things, okay?
11.
I do wanna throw this
What-
caveat
please
out.
read it.
When we created some of these requirements, okay, we had a very small staff. Oh, by the way, the general public wasn't invited, this wasn't recorded. We could talk about, you know, Erin could say, hey, yeah, I have these 3 results and, you know, this is a thing. But now we can't do that in public, you know, so it takes so much more time. You have to do it in private. She has so many more employees, so we have to determine, we need to know,
Good job.
somehow we need to come up with a process that we can, we're not questioning or even telling you what you have to give this person as a incentive bonus. We're just saying, we need to know what it is.
So
And-
Laura found it, if the RSA, if you want her to read it.
Yes, please.
Can you read the number, just to reference the
Yeah,
number?
it's 202-A:11, Roman numeral 5. And it says, appoint a librarian who shall not be a trustee, and in consultation with the librarian and all of the employees of the library, and determine their compensation and other terms of employment unless other provisions are made in the city charter, which we don't have a
We
city
don't
charter.
have a city charter. So it's basically, there is an RSA right there that says we're supposed to review that. Now, you know, I've come
It's,
up with.
I actually, I disagree with that. It says it sounds like I consult, no, it doesn't sound like, appoint a librarian who is not a trustee and in consultation with the librarian and other employees and determine their compensation in other terms of employment unless in the cities the other provisions is made in the city charter. At no point does it say that the trustees decide the merit,
Who
in
is-
my opinion.
Who was the, that section being addressed to?
Powers and
Powers and
duties.
duties of the
Of trustees. So it's power and duties of the trustees, so,
Yeah, it's not the duties of,
It's pretty vague.
the,
I don't think we need to.
you
go
are
down that
determining the
specific.
compensation at the time of hire. Because Erin's bringing everyone that's hired to you, and at that point, you determine their compensation.
Right, but
that's
if
been 20
someone
years
does,
ago.
right, but if someone performs poorly within the year, I mean, the trustees should be made aware of that, number one. Right now, we have no idea who's doing what, how they're doing. And if we're responsible for all the money and that's, you know, going in and out of the library, that includes what employees are getting.
So if I come, so I guess I'm concerned about what I'm bringing to you and what your role is in that. If I'm bringing to you and say, I have employee A, she's done a great job this year, these are the things that she's done, really feel happy with her work, I'm gonna give her a full merit. Do you guys have the power to say, no, I disagree? Is that where this is leading to? Or do you
No,
say,
I don't
okay,
think
thanks for
so.
letting us know, we're glad to
No.
hear she's
yeah,
doing well? Okay.
that, you know, that
Wasn't any
you
information
know,
at this
I mean, I'm not gonna tell you, you know, but if you come to me with 18 and they've all been doing the best job possible and they're gonna get the highest raise and stuff, I'm gonna stop questioning at that point.
I think at that point, then we raise their bar. That's
Well,
what
I can tell you right now, not all of our employees have gotten a full merit.
And you,
But we
and
don't
you-
know that,
yeah.
because we never
No,
received the
and
information.
you have told us
But I've
that
never
before.
been told, this is the
Yeah.
first time I'm being told to bring that information to you.
I don't think so, I think we've
No.
discussed this in the past.
Yes, we have.
So every time we do the merit then, because sometimes there's more than one a month,
December meeting,
Yeah.
and I believe
I'm bringing them
we
to
did-
you
Show that to
that
us.
month,
That would be
that
great.
their merit
Yes.
is,
I'm
or
pretty sure
review is
this the same
happening,
meeting.
and then I'm just informing you
I just
of
don't
what's
believe
happened.
That's exactly what.
Is everyone happy with that?
Ladies, let's make sure we're clear before, okay? Erin,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that
But
again.
So-
say that one more time.
So we have there are times where we have more than one review a month, and there's some months where we don't have any reviews.
Mhm.
because it's based on hire, so, or anniversary. So if I have a time where I'm bringing you reviews and I say, this is the review, this is what's happened, and then I'm just informing you. You guys aren't telling me that that is incorrect. Is that correct? So I'm making the decision on whether I think that employee or my department heads deserve that merit.
I don't see us making this
Right,
decision.
Christine, do you
We're
plan to push
just-
back?
I'm just,
You're
I'm-
reassuring us.
I brought
of-
it up for everyone's input,
Right, so what is your intention with it? Is it gonna
just to be able to see what people are getting. We're not getting any information to date. I know it was discussed at a prior meeting, so we'd like to know how the employees are doing.
So for the record, you
and the
plan just
proposed
to know,
merit.
you wanna know what the list is, you wanna know what they're getting, but you don't plan to challenge it.
Unless it exceeds the amount of the budget.
It wouldn't.
And it won't, yeah.
It wouldn't.
But it could.
Well, no, because when we budget for the max potential of that merit, so that we have that. So if by some miracle every employee got the full merit, we're covered with our budget. If they don't, then we're also covered because we've budgeted for that.
I don't anticipate, to answer your question, I don't anticipate challenging it, but I can't make any promises either, because, I mean, depending on what the situation and the information presented.
It would be very unlikely that we would challenge it. We just need, the RSA requires that we have that information, okay?
Is
So
it-
we're just trying to meet that, you know?
Liz, it honestly feels like people on this board might challenge it.
Okay.
Maybe you wouldn't, and maybe I wouldn't, but it feels like
Okay.
other people might be.
I'm sorry.
Based on the
I
conversation.
know Donna's got a.
And I think it's good that it's on the record.
I just have a question. So Aaron, in some cases, or a lot of cases, is not the direct supervisor that's writing the review. Would that be a scenario where you would invite the supervisor to come present to you?
No, because it's already been presented to Erin, right? She's the boss. She already knows. She's
Right.
the boss. She's the ultimate decision maker for the staff, and she would bring it to us.
Okay.
Don, yeah, Beth.
Which is why we need to stop micromanaging our really, really capable director. Like, the job of being a director is managing the people that work under her. Our job is to do this boring stuff, but it's her job to like manage the staff. If there's a problem, she would come to us.
But it's our job to get the information.
Well, we don't,
We don't have the information now at all.
I mean, this is clearly stated in that RSA. Beth, you gotta understand, all we're doing is looking at the intent and the word of the law and trying to meet it. Because in the past, we have not, okay? That's all, we're not trying to put anyone on trial or anything like that. We're just trying to meet our obligations to the town as an elected official to follow the letter of the law. And that's the only thing we're intending. And it can be, we can be a pain in the ass, because we've gotta do this, you know? I'm sorry,
We
I
didn't
didn't
write
mean to
them.
say that word.
We didn't write them.
You know, we didn't write the rules, really.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, in the interest of time, I'd like us to get through the bylaws and then consider what we may have to say for our meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Because it's already 9:40.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically, is there something in here that we need to change right now before we approve the bylaws?
We're not,
We're not voting
we cannot vote on the
Let's just,
budget.
I think Christine should finish going through all of her things,
Yeah.
make sure we get all that down, and then we, okay, because then we will be able to vote on it.
Yeah, we wanna vote on it in 2 weeks, please.
Okay.
Okay,
So 1.4, are we doing Robert's Rules of Order?
I guess we have to, huh?
So 1.5, we added the trustee objection.
Yeah, where did that come from?
Just, town council does that to, it's one thing that they do, that if they're not comfortable voting on something, they just request that it gets put off to vote on another meeting for one time.
Oh, instead of having them stay because you don't have enough information?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so, and then each trustee is given one per meeting, or?
we can only delay that topic once.
That
Huh?
topic.
That
You can only
topic.
the topic once. So
Okay.
for example,
Okay, the
bylaws.
top,
Yeah,
the
Christine
first
should
one
not
delays the
be more than
topic, it's not gonna be
once for
delayed
any
from
agenda
month to
item.
month. Yes, okay, I said that.
So the board previously discussed this and decided not to implement it because the town council does not use Robert's Rules of Order, and they also have a smaller number of people in seats. And in Robert's Rules, what you should do is have a motion to table, and then you vote on that motion. So in my opinion, it conflicts with Robert's Rules. I think at the time you discussed it, you also all decided that if someone really didn't want to vote, that you would consider that as part of your vote to table.
So referencing Robert's rules, which in the 1.4 we already said that we're gonna be doing, okay? You're saying in 1.5, per Robert's rules, it would give the trustee the ability to table the motion till the next meeting?
That would be the Robert's Rule.
I
That's
don't know if
Robert's
you even
rules.
need to include it, because if you're referencing
Okay.
Robert rules to begin with, then
Right.
that's included in Robert's rules. You may not even need to put in the 1.5.
As long as everyone realizes that, you know.
I mean, well, everyone should be familiar with Robert's
Yeah.
rules.
There's like 4 packets in your binder.
Yes,
I would say to leave it in because it's specific to give, all trustees the ability to use that procedure, that's all.
yeah, because when you
So-
table an item, sometimes, you know, that's it, you know.
We're
it's-
just postponing it till
Yeah,
next week.
okay, so do we want to leave this in then?
So,
For the rest of the-
I don't think it's gonna hurt.
But it doesn't
but it
correspond
conflicts
with
with
the rules.
Robert's rules, so.
So
I
we
mean,
can change the wording to reflect the Roberts rules, just so everyone's aware, the trustees are aware that they have that option.
Yeah, it wouldn't be to delay a vote, adopt or delay a vote, it would be to table, right?
No, it says delay a vote. In this
Which
wording,
was
it says,
table, yeah.
in this wording, it says delay a vote.
Yeah,
Okay, alright, moving on, public comment.
Wait,
Wait,
what was the decision? Are we
So
keeping it or
we
not?
were going to keep it and just reference the text from the Roberts rules.
But they're,
Do we know what that text is?
No, but we'll have to find it out before the next meeting.
Yeah, if
Okay.
we wanna keep this meeting moving then.
Okay, sorry.
1.6, is new, allowed 5 minutes per person. Or do we wanna do 3?
I propose 3 minutes.
Okay.
Only because everyone goes over the 3 anyway, then they're gonna go over the 5,
Yeah.
and I think we'll get ourselves in more trouble.
And,
Okay.
you know, I
We
think
let
that,
everyone finish anyway.
I think we need to also say in this statement that we can't give minutes to other people.
Yeah, speaker time is, non-transferable.
Yeah, non-transferable,
Okay.
yes.
And then, but if the trustees are speaking to the person, that time will be
Time
given back to.
consideration,
Yes.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
I think we're not supposed to really have a banter back and forth though, right? Like,
Well, I think that's up to the
You
chair
can answer their
usually.
question.
I think
We're
that's,
really,
it
public
depends.
comment is public comment, you're not supposed to respond.
We're supposed to have a,
Yeah, it's not a conversational thing, you're not supposed, they're also public comment, they're not gonna ask, they're not supposed to
Okay,
ask,
so I'll
what
take out
happened this,
that,
and what did
that
you do this,
sentence.
what did, you know, that type of thing. It's a comment that they weren't pleased with the way it was handled, or they're pleased with something, whatever, you know what I mean, it's a comment.
well, they
Yes.
have a question.
so I just have the question, or something that should be added in here, which is something like, due to time constraints, the amount of time allotted for each of the sessions of public comment may be limited. So in
Oh,
other
to
words, there
20
may be,
minutes.
you know, we may say 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever versus we'll just keep
Oh,
going.
the whole public comment time?
Yes,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Dan?
may be limited by whatever.
Can we do it?
Yeah,
I guess we can.
and
No,
of
Dan, we
course,
can't do that?
you know, we're gonna look at our agenda, and if, you know, maybe the minimum would be 20 minutes, you know, but if the agenda allows, cause there's not much else, and someone wants to say something, that's fine. But it's, you know, it's basically, it's better to just have a limit, 20 minutes, and that's it, you know, than to be shifting back and forth. People get confused. No, you're saying no,
Dan's
please
waving to you.
join in.
Join in the party.
Wait, no, 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 no.
public comment is public comment, so, I mean, to say you're gonna limit it to 20 minutes, if you have a lot of people here that have come to voice their opinion on something, and, sorry, you can't speak now, because these people have spoken, all right?
So
I
just
don't
change
think-
it down to 3 instead of 5, so.
Okay,
keep
yeah,
the
we'll cut it down to
people
3 and then we can, as many people.
But we also have 2 times.
Yeah, we have it at the beginning, at the end also, and, you know, the other thing that I'd like to just touch on is, if you used to go to town council meetings, public comment, people would go up, say something, it's like talking to the wall, nobody ever responds. We now respond to our people. If we don't have an answer, we tell them, we will get you the answer, okay? I think it's better for the public when they come in and they ask a question, so keep that in mind, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, section 2, special meetings, there was no
Liz.
changes.
Did you change that
Liz.
to 3? Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, oh, Donna.
Donna has.
I had another, something that I noted for 1.6 is a suggestion to specify how speakers, can get time on the agenda. So my suggestion was to add, speakers may contact the chairperson at least 1 week in advance to request time on the agenda,
It'd be more than 1.
Huh?
or more than 1.
It'd have to be more than 1 if it has to be out in the agenda.
So
Yeah,
2 weeks.
we have to have the agenda ahead of a week, so probably 2 weeks before,
Mhm.
okay? I would,
Okay, got it.
yeah, would,
All
yeah,
right.
2 weeks before.
All right, section 3, annual meeting, no changes other than removing the annual meeting. Quorum, no changes. The only thing we added was the last sentence, any trustee at any time reserves the right to request a roll call vote. Bylaws, notice of the proposed amendment shall, okay, bylaws may be amended by a majority vote of all members of the board present and voting provided written. That doesn't make sense.
I think that's,
Written vote?
I don't think it's supposed to be the end of a sentence, it's just supposed to be written notice.
Yeah. Well, that's how it was in the original one, I believe, unless I messed up. Anyway,
So-
notice of the proposed amendment shall have been mailed / presented to all members at least 1 meeting / 1 month prior to the meeting at which such action is proposed to be taken.
May I chime in for that? I just have a question. When you go to do this revision, does that mean that you won't be able to vote on it in June because you haven't presented a final copy
We're
1
gonna-
month in advance? You would have to present the copy in June and then vote on it in July.
Well, we don't have, these are not been approved, so I guess we can do whatever.
But is that wording
But
in
you're,
the
but
original?
she's
it's in the
saying that-
original, it's
yeah.
also in the original bylaws, so.
Yeah. She's just saying that to consider what it's stating is that now, if we notify, you know,
This is an amendment.
an amendment, okay? Then
Because
we notify everyone in June, then we can't vote on it till July.
The original ones had 10 days. So we can change it to,
Rather than 30 days, yeah.
10 days.
you wanna leave it as 10 days?
At least 10 days prior to meeting, is that what you said?
Yep.
Okay.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Alright, resources, number 1 was the same, and the rest was, all new stuff. And then, in our current binders, we have our current and next year's budget, so I added that. So unless there's any other documents people want to add.
Again, Christine, on 1.3,
Yep.
copy of directors, no, wait, I'm sorry. copy of director's terms of employment, we don't have. We will have to talk to, to human resources. I'll be talking to human resources to find out about that.
Well, I think that could be added,
How-
like, as an like, we can, obviously, we're gonna have to add it, or if anything,
Yeah.
updates, so we can add that if need be.
It's down there, it's,
Right, but
1, 2,
say-
3, 4, up from the bottom, copy of
Yeah,
director's.
right.
copy
you
of
don't-
director's terms of employment, employment agreement. It's right
Okay,
there.
so we're removing that and we'll
No,
add
no,
that?
We don't have it.
Or will you have that
I'm gonna
information
call
prior
it
to our
from-
next
I'm
meeting?
gonna
Okay.
call human resources.
I think we should leave it at in and then we
Yeah,
can
I'm
fix
gonna
it
call human resources and see what we should or should not do,
Alright.
okay?
for the attorney.
Yes,
or
Donna.
something.
Alright,
For section 1.2, there is no New Hampshire State Library Association,
oh yeah, we crossed
So I-
out state.
so it is New Hampshire Library
Yep,
Association?
sorry,
Okay.
I didn't know.
I think,
Goals and objectives.
Kristen, can I just stop you for 1 second? Can we go
It's
back,
done early on the meeting.
Hold on,
No,
that's a
alright,
good
that's-
question.
can we go back to Article 5, 1.3? I think that we should adopt a code of ethics, include that,
Oh, create your own, is that what you're saying?
yeah, or, I think that's something we should,
Oh, okay, I mean, I think that's fine if we have one.
we should
We do have,
create one.
yeah.
Did you say?
We
We
don't
don't
have
have one.
Create a code of ethics.
Oh.
We have there is a
There's one
It's
in
not,
there,
we
but
never
it's
not
not
ours.
ours.
We've not
It's the
adopted one.
I mean, you have the choice to adopt it, or you can create your
I
own.
think we should.
Oh,
You can do
okay.
either.
So what are we making are we gonna review ours and the one we
So
have?
I propose we add it when we actually have it. 'Cause we don't
But then
have
you
it
could
right
say the
now.
same thing about my terms of employment,
Right.
add it when you actually have it.
But Liz is checking on that prior to our next meeting.
Okay.
But I
There's
think
nothing
we
in the
should-
RSA tells us we have to have a code of ethics.
Okay.
I think we should
That
adopt a
sounds
code of
So
ethics.
the one that I have for Leach Library Code of Ethics, okay? It's the trustees' code of ethics. You're saying that's not,
Not
That's from
binding.
the
That's right.
New Hampshire Library Trustee Association.
it
It's
doesn't,
not
it comes,
binding for us.
it comes out of the New Hampshire.
Mhm.
Okay,
Recommendation.
gotcha.
But it's nothing that we ever approved or
No,
discussed.
so we need to consider that
Correct,
and see if we want to have that,
right.
have something else in place.
Yep.
Yes, yeah.
Alright, goals and
Okay.
objectives, standards, there was no changes, and cooperation with other libraries, there was no changes. So that is it.
Okay.
Thank you, Christine.
Some comments on the side of the table.
Did you wanna go down first?
Yes.
You had your hand up first.
Are
I
you
was gonna
saying I
mention
shouldn't
Gino.
say that?
No,
No.
I
I thought you said no comments.
Yeah, no, yeah,
No,
quick
I think Donna had
comments.
her
Just
hand
on
up
the table. You said thank you, and I was gonna wait, just 2 quick comments.
So
Thank you.
under the goals and objectives, under goals and objectives, to my knowledge, the public library standards for associate libraries no longer exist. And I'm not certain if ALA's certified and accredited library standards still exist. So I would suggest you either reconsider that or look into it, because you wanna make sure that it's actually achievable.
So you said it's been disbanded, it's been abandoned by the.
To my knowledge, it is not, there's no like updated, I couldn't, when I looked it up, I couldn't even find either of those.
Okay,
Alright, so remove the whole thing, do we wanna just remove it?
Well, you can remove
1.1.
public library standards, but you can, I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't know.
There's also room here to, something a lot of other library boards do is create a strategic plan. So you could reference that the board should create a strategic plan as a goal.
Yeah.
Instead,
Good luck. Yeah.
that's a suggestion.
Liz, I had a comment.
okay, hang on for 1 sec, right. My only statement is, I want this ratified next month, next meeting, okay?
Well, you can't do it next month.
So if we have to add more things to it now, which would require us to have 2 more meetings before we can ratify it, then I wouldn't wanna, we can amend it at any time. But we need to get this ratified, okay? So if we don't add anything to it, we can vote to ratify it, we can get this ratified next meeting. But if we add something, then it's gotta go on the agenda, it's gotta be deferred, then it doesn't get looked at till
It
June,
can always be
July.
updated at a later date.
That's
So
exactly
I would
what
say
I
let's
said.
just remove it for now.
Yeah,
But will it be updated? Like, I'm worried that if we just don't attend to the things like a code of ethics and those kind of things, will we ever?
That would be for,
I
that
can
would be for
guarantee
people
you,
to bring up as an item for the agenda.
I know.
I can
but-
guarantee you we will do it, because you will insist we do it, and I'll thank you for that, okay?
Will you?
Don't let us get away with not doing it, okay?
So
Yes.
instead of goals and objectives, should I just, rename that to cooperation with other libraries?
Sure.
Yeah,
And I would think you'd have.
Erin?
I would ask that the board include for the cooperation of the libraries, our commitment with GMILKs.
So how do we want that to read?
Can it be included in the 1.1 or?
I'm
Or make
not
a
sure we
separate
can do
thing?
that, I mean, that's an issue with the town, if they wanna keep budgeting in a certain, isn't it?
No, the board is the one that signed the contract.
Yeah, but if the town now tells us,
Section.
you don't have that money anymore, we're not gonna do it.
No, the town will tell us you don't have a certain amount of money, and then the board can decide where that cut is from. But I do think that we need to put that we have a commitment to be part of the consortium.
But down the road, say 10 years down the road, if the trustees don't wanna be part of GMILKs anymore, they can decide to pull out from it.
Then you can
take it out
update
of
the
the
bylaws, but I don't recommend that.
Sure.
But I would like GMILKs to be represented in the cooperation of with other libraries, because we do work with other libraries.
I think that's a decision for the trustees.
Okay.
Yeah, it is, because right now, you know, right now we're in an uncertain world of what could happen. And I don't wanna stick ourselves into,
The community
I mean,
doesn't
we've
want us
gone
to
this
rip
far
away
without
resources
having
either.
to make that statement, I don't know why we should still make it, yes.
Well, I don't know, could we just, at the end of 2.1, it talks about interlibrary loan, we could just tweak this to include GMILKs as well as part of this 2.1.
Well, isn't GMILKs the same as interlibrary loan?
Mm-mm.
It's not.
No, so.
No, it is not.
No, I know, but I mean, yeah.
They're different. That we needed GMILKs because interlibrary loan isn't as good as GMILKs.
And interlibrary loan with the state could potentially go away
Right.
if we don't get federal funding.
So maybe we just get rid of that section as well and just not have it.
Oh, I
No.
don't think you should
No.
remove that section. I mean, you could say and participate in the state interlibrary loan program and GMILK's consortium.
Well, I think-
But
Or
it's
consortium
saying-
and
okay.
consortiums.
Interlibrary loan program, that's a very broad statement, that
No.
covers Gmail.
No, well, I was gonna say, or can we just include in the word and consortiums if we're not gonna name GMILKs by name?
Okay, and all consortiums.
Or, yes,
Yeah,
as in we will
and our
participate or work
consortiums.
to cooperate with. Christine, does that work?
Would everyone be happy with that?
It's not just me, I'm just waiting
No,
for
I
info
know,
from
I
everyone
know,
else.
well,
That's
what's, huh?
Are you okay with
I
that?
think that kind of, yeah,
That's broad enough to cover
Yeah.
this
So
for
just
now.
add the word
Yep,
transfer.
that's fine.
and all consortiums, okay? You can live with that, Erin? I know you'd prefer to have Gmails, but.
No, it's fine. It's what the
Okay.
board wants.
And will this be,
Maura,
This might actually be more of a policy for the library than the board, because we don't interact with much of that stuff anyway.
What-
Not directly,
GMILKs you're talking about?
either, we don't deal directly with interlibrary loan, we don't deal directly with GMILKs.
We pay for some of it.
GMILKs, the board signed the contract for
yeah, we
GMILKs.
have to, yeah, the board,
The board
Owns
signed
the
and
contract.
voted to join.
yeah,
So we deal with the everyday stuff, but the board approved us joining the consortium.
Right, but because you deal with the everyday stuff, I think it's more suited to a policy.
No, but we fund it. We fund it.
so are you objecting to saying and all consortiums?
I just don't know that
this whole
its
thing-
place is here, I think it might be more of a policy.
this whole section, the cooperation with other libraries, are you saying is a policy?
Yes.
The whole thing is a
It's
policy.
a major piece of the library's identity.
No, I think as it stated, and it is a stated goal of the board to cooperate with the towns, school libraries, and other libraries and participate in interlibrary loan and consortiums. I do think that's a tenet and a mission of this trustee organization.
Okay.
But we personally don't do any of that.
Right, we don't.
No, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, but we do.
that's it.
Okay.
Come with your voting stamp in 2 weeks.
So the changes will be sent out and then voted at the next meeting, is that correct? Okay.
And Christine, you're sending out the changes?
Yes, there'll be, yeah. Christine, you're good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll vote, then she'll get them out as soon as possible, and we'll vote on them at the next meeting.
Public comment again.
Yes, public comment? Are we-
Well, we never, Liz, we have to talk about the bank, which you mentioned that we're gonna talk about.
Oh, yes,
So-
yes, yeah.
We didn't do new business.
And we haven't done new business.
Did you strike new business?
Or did that get struck? I lost track of when, we didn't do new business, so
When is your review?
September.
Oh, we have, okay, can we defer the new business for the directors, the review of the performance review and the director's job description till June? Because the review's not due till September, okay?
I'm okay with putting it to June, as long as everyone has reviewed it.
Yeah,
Well, can I ask a question about
Yeah.
that? Are you saying that everyone review the job descriptions that are in the packet of tonight, or is there another draft of my job description?
I sent out a copy of of your job description, but we should, I don't know if we'll have enough time at our next meeting to review all of them.
So I have to say at this point, I think that if there's another draft besides the two that are included in this packet, then we did this meeting wrong, because all drafts should have been included in this packet.
I emailed it out.
I did not get it, and I asked 3 times in an email for it.
Did everyone get it?
Or did you send it to Erin?
I sent out 2 emails, I thought I copied her on both of them.
I did not get any update to my review, and I asked Liz a number of times, I've asked other people a number of times, is there a working draft, and I was told no. And I asked the board, I emailed the board twice, at least, for a working draft, if there was another draft aside from the 2,
That's the review, that's the.
yeah, you know,
and I was told no.
I didn't say no.
the one
I
draft
think-
that I
But
sent
you
out-
didn't even
Like I
respond
said.
to the email.
The way my emails come through, it looks like I don't, half of them, it looks like I responded to them. Half of them, the ones that I open, show that they're not open. So I never know, the way they come in, they're stacked
The
on
town
each
ones,
other.
yeah.
So
The town
when I
ones
sent the
also.
email, I did get an email back from you that gave me the performance piece, but no job description.
Okay, well.
And I asked I asked Liz if there was a working job description, she said no.
I think
This
I'm not
is the
on your
only
email
one.
list.
This is the
My
only
town
one
There's a way you can fix
that
that, so
I
you don't
saw, I've
fix
seen.
it.
I'm gonna have to figure it out, but
Yeah,
I haven't.
Please do
managed.
so, yeah.
Okay. But I did email it out, and I thought I copied you on it, cause I copied you on
I definitely did not get it.
the one for the, performance report.
Cause if I got it, I would have included in the, associated documents.
Did you get the performance report?
Yep.
Okay.
But that was
Excellent.
the only thing attached to that email.
Right, I sent out 2 separate emails.
I did not get the other one then.
Because my computer died and I was trying to get it through, my phone. So I
So
was
I,
trying to forward it to myself through my phone, and something must have got lost in transmission.
Christine, your computer's dead. Are you gonna be able to update those?
Yep,
Okay, good.
yep,
Okay.
I have the PDF, and I'll grab my, son's laptop
Okay,
and
good.
do it on there.
Okay, and maybe, can you just forward one more time, and we'll all look for it?
Job
The
description, right?
update of the job description and the review, okay, that you've done. Thank you very much, thank you. Donna?
I just have a clarifying question about the job description and the template, I suppose, for the director's performance review. You mentioned that you have until September. In my opinion, it isn't really fairly adopted unless you are using that for to observe a full year.
Yeah.
So I don't think it should be really used until September of 26. I mean, you should have it for this September to set as the like expectation.
I think the one we have now is, we run into this every year that I've been here. It's very confusing, and that's why we agreed to change it for the next review.
Yes, and I have
But-
no qualms about
okay.
that. It's the,
And it's
I
us
wanna
using
know
it.
exactly
But
what
it's
law
not-
that you're based
it's
on
not
that you say
fair-
you can't do that.
it's not fair to the board because you haven't had the full year to observe all those categories.
Under those conditions.
Yes.
And it's not fair to Erin because she did not know the expectation going into the year.
Assess her on something we changed.
Right.
That wasn't, she wasn't
It's-
aware of things
yeah.
every year.
She can also respond that was not part of the.
But like, we're teachers, we can't give out a rubric after the kids did the report and be like, so this is how you're actually gonna get
Right.
scored. They'd be
How
like,
you
but we
check.
would have done the report differently or presentation differently had you known this was what you're looking for. This
So
is
maybe we don't use the rubric and just use the general guidelines, of what's in there right now.
It's still different from
But-
what she was expecting going into this year.
I feel like I'm being set up to fail because I haven't done a
hasn't
full
been
year
drafted
with
yet.
that evaluation sheet.
Our intent, or at least my intent, is that we provide you with new guidelines that from going forward, once you get that, would be where you would, that
So
once you.
I'm fine with doing the new guidelines as starting September of this year, and then next year using those guidelines for the next review. But I don't think they should be
part of your
I don't think they should be
Right.
done for September of this year. I don't think they should be used for that year. I mean, for this year, because
Correct.
it's not
I
fair.
feel that's reasonable. What does everyone else feel?
I mean, I have no problem updating everything, cause I'm
Yeah.
certainly agreed it needs updating, but I don't feel like I have a
Laura.
fair chance.
If we're talking about this in June, why don't we have this discussion then, because you have like 5 other things on the agenda.
And the
Okay.
banking was very important, so if we had to
Yes.
figure out the banking thing, I think we should figure that out first. I agree
Yeah,
with
let's
that.
do exactly, we gotta straighten out the
Hold on
banking.
a second.
And we do have some time before that. And anything that we implement, obviously, it's going to be a heads up from them going forward type of thing. You know what I mean? If we change our policies or our expectations, Erin needs to know then, and at that point, from that point on, those expectations can be applied to her, but not for something before she's ever been notified.
I think that's fair.
Okay. Yes, Vaughn?
I know you wanna move on to the banking, but didn't we all already address the past trustee gift thing? Can we
Yes.
strike that from
Oh,
the agenda?
yeah, no, what I wanted to know is,
That was
has
the one we did
anybody
here.
done anything? We're supposed to be buying, who was buying the books with her name on them?
No, the donation was gonna come from the trustee account so that we would buy the books.
Yes, so,
So we haven't gotten an amount.
We just have to send them $100.
Yes, $100.
yeah, $100, yeah. Okay, so just pick out something, give us a receipt,
Okay,
okay? Sound good? I just wanted to get that put to bed.
It-
Yes,
I will say it would be a lot easier if you issued a check to go into the book account because us getting exactly $100 in any order is going to be very challenging.
That's fine.
I have no problem. You're okay with
I'll
the
write out a
treasurer's
check.
okay?
I'll write out a check.
She's gonna write out a check, okay? That's resolved, okay.
bank,
And,
the bank stuff, do you wanna talk about the bank?
yes, let's do the bank thing, that's one last thing, yep.
Do you wanna speak to it or do you want me to?
I'd like to speak to it.
Okay.
So, bank accounts. I went into the Citizens Bank to, find out about getting access to online banking for the 2 accounts, the trustee account and the trustee book account. I was told that I'm only currently on the trustee account, and that Helen and I and Aaron are on that account. But I have no idea. I was not on the book account. I said that's really interesting because I just signed $8,000 worth of checks. But anyway, I don't know who's on the other account. And there supposedly is some super person who would be in need of being able, a super user who has to give permission for anybody to have online banking. So we need to not only fix who's in each account, but also find out who the super user is and change that. And I would, frankly, Aaron I don't think you should be on the account at all, but, because you're not a member of the trustees.
Yes?
So I have some information also regarding this. So I did hear from the bank that Jan had stopped in and had some questions. So there is the two accounts, and Jan, Helen, and I are on the trustee account. My name is only on the account as access. I cannot sign checks. I cannot do any sort of transactions. The only reason my name was added, and this was a previous thing, the director previous to me also was named on that account, was because in case something happened to the treasurer or somebody else, I would still be able to do things related to that account that would either be able to gain access for someone else. That's all I've been able to do, is saying we need to change this name from this name, and so forth. So when Kim, our previous chair, left, I was able to then add Helen as an additional signer. So I'm happy to change the names. I just have to contact the bank, and there's a form I believe I have to fill out, and it might need a letterhead message as well, of who the new names are. When I changed the account for the last one, in my assumption, I thought it was changing for both the trustee account and the book account, and that is my fault. It did not, so I can easily make that adjustment and have the same names on both accounts and fill out that form and do that accordingly. I did speak to, I think her name was Janine, and she gave me her email in order to move that process forward. When I've done it in the past, it's been pretty quick. I would say less than a week. It could be even a couple of days, that those names could be adjusted. I just need to know whose names would like to be on that account. When it comes to the super user, I have no idea who that is or what that means. That's new information.
That you were the super user because you're authorized to.
I am not. I am definitely not the super user. I actually do not want to be the super user at all.
No, I know, but you're the only one who has the rights to add and remove names, right?
No,
I don't think
No.
that's the case. It's just I've always been the one that does it.
Yes, yeah.
But when it comes to the online banking, I do think I have some concerns about that, because right now we get the bank statements in paper, and we would need for online banking, we would need to have access to the account in order to print out those bank statements, or however the board wants to work it, in order to do the reconciliations that Colleen does. I also think that there should be some sort of procedure or a policy written up by the board on how those online bank accounts, when they get access, who has the right to access them, because I feel like just to protect everyone, there should be something in writing that states what the responsibility of those online bank accounts are. So I just.
Right now, they're mailed monthly to you.
They're mailed to the library's address,
The
yeah.
Monthly, okay, so that's where the statements are going. And right now, you're the only person who can actually change names to your knowledge.
I don't know if I'm the only person. I just know that the director in the past, and I've done it.
Yes.
So, and I don't have no problem doing it, because I have done it before. I know how to do it. So if anybody wants to tell me what names to put on it, I'm happy to do that.
Do you have a solution,
I don't know if I have a solution.
Madam Treasurer?
I don't know if I have a solution.
Do you have, well, what do you
I
think?
need to have, I would like online access to both accounts, so that I can keep track of where we are and can do because I don't get those statements until well after the month is closed, so I don't have the ability to reconcile the account myself.
Yeah.
So, or see what's cleared and what hasn't cleared. So I would like to have online access to the bank account.
And there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do the online and get hard copies.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm gonna
Yeah.
say. So your only objection for her to be able to do online is that you think that your monthly statements would stop?
I know with my bank, it's either or. If you do online banking, you have to get paperless. They forced me to do paperless. But I don't know, the citizens could be different, I'm happy, I don't know enough about that, but, and I have other concerns with online banking, but it's the board's account, and the board can decide that.
Mhm.
I just think there should be some sort of policy procedure to protect Jan, or whoever the treasurer is, or whoever has access to those accounts. And again, there's nothing stated who's gonna have access to that account. And who has access to the passwords and all of that. I feel like there needs to be something that's gonna protect everybody.
Well, apparently, we need to have a conversation with the bank, find out, first of all, who is designated super user for that account, okay? Find out if we can still get mailed the monthly, reconciliation, yet still access and be able to watch the moment-to-moment happening, of if you write checks, did it clear type of thing. So, I think that information needs to be found out. Then, we need to decide who's gonna be able to sign checks.
Right, I was gonna say, if you want to switch it to you, for me, that's fine. I can come by pretty quickly and sign stuff for you when you need me to.
So if the board would like to make a decision on who is allowed to sign checks tonight, I can certainly get that email started tomorrow. Again, I just get concerned, we're coming to the end of the year, we've gotta get checks out in order to
Yeah.
clear. That's my only concern with
Well,
that.
absolutely, Jan.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. And Jan is on it already.
Yes,
I'm not
which
on,
is
yeah, I'm not on
fine.
I'm not on
And-
the book account.
I will fix that.
And
If
Helen
you
is-
want the same names on both accounts, I can certainly send an email and make that
And I
adjustment.
wanna maybe just keep the two of us through the end of the fiscal time right now to
If-
make it easier, and then we can
We
reevaluate. To have
transgress.
you be, you and
I-
not me, I
that's
don't care,
fine,
but
yeah.
like that way we don't mess up anything with.
So for both
checks that
accounts,
we
it's
go
gonna
out.
be, is my name still attached to that account? Again, I don't sign any checks, I don't have the ability to sign checks, it's just for emergency situations.
I think you're the constant, right, as the director, I think you should stay.
I don't get any emails from them, I don't get anything from
Yeah.
them. So it'll be
All right.
But
Ja-
you
Jan,
can't sign checks right now anyway, right?
no, I don't, and I
So
don't
you
want to
did-
sign checks.
Okay,
I-
so,
But
I don't even like to sign my own checks.
what the person at the local branch said was that the signatories on the account were it was myself, Helen, and you, and she couldn't tell me if there were other people that were also on that account. It was like, I couldn't ask that question, and I couldn't ask the question about who on the book account. And I said, well, it's the book account that we really have to have so we can get this cleared.
Yep.
Just get that.
I'm
phone
sure
call.
they
So
like-
I will make sure that it's Helen, Jan, and myself, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
and
but,
I will
the only
send that
reason
email tomorrow.
You had said you didn't, with your work schedule, you didn't know if you had time.
Yeah, no, but it works out that,
And
every
you're
time
right-
she's
you're
reached
right
out to
in
me,
the
I'm like,
neighborhood.
I can
You're
come
right
by,
in the
I can
neighborhood.
come by, I just
Good.
pop in
Good.
and
So
sign
if
a
you're
bunch of
comfortable
things.
with
and-
that, I'm comfortable.
No, I think, you know what, why don't
Yeah.
we just do it for the next 2 months and then we
Yeah.
can switch to you.
No, I'm
Yep.
fine.
That's fine.
And at that point, we might have the online stuff figured out and
Right.
be able
But,
to manage
and
that.
I would just like to make the comment so that you can let them know. I mean, I did call, went in and asked, and then I called, they told me I had to talk with the people in the government,
Yes,
whatever.
Yep.
And I said, fine, I called and left a message, but then they called you instead of calling me back, and it was like, well, they should have called me back.
yeah, your
I mean,
name's on the
it's-
account.
It's fine for them to call you back, but they should have called me back and let me know that they're calling you back. I mean, you called me, and that was fine, but, they need to correspond with, I mean, the treasurer should at least, be talked to.
Access.
Yep, so I will fix that and I'll certainly let you all know when that's
Okay,
completed.
thank you. Anything else?
Oh, we don't have to discuss any of the other stuff right now.
I'm sorry, what?
The other
We don't have to
financial
discuss
stuff.
anything else in the financing
Oh,
end,
yeah.
end of it. I will be
Yeah.
happy to bring, specific, things for next time.
For next meeting, yeah. Okay, good.
Anybody, good, anyone else wanna say anything?
Any public comment?
Yes, Dan.
Dan really wants to tell us.
Just wanna, Jan, you might wanna reach out to Justin. I know that we had issues with citizens as well, and he's.
I did talk with Justin,
Okay.
and he said he didn't think we could do it on town letterhead, cause the person I spoke with said, well, you need to have a letter
Yeah.
on letterhead, and I said, well, the trustees don't have letterhead,
Well-
there's the library letterhead or there's the town. And she said, well, I would think the town, but Justin said not the town,
No.
so.
No, what
In the
I'm saying-
past, I've used the library letterhead.
What I'm saying, Jan, is you might wanna look at a different bank.
Okay,
That's what we've done.
Thank you.
got it, thank you.
Thank you for attendance tonight.
Yeah, I would like, is this public
And
comment?
Patrick, thank you.
Yes.
Patrick, thank
Yeah.
you very much for coming too.
Wait, we have
Do you want public
more
comment?
public comment.
Yes, okay, yeah,
So
go
Alicia
ahead.
Frank, 96
Yes.
Wheatstone Drive. And I've just only come twice, so maybe I got this wrong. But I don't love the idea of reducing public comment. Like, this is our town and I wanna have input into what's going on in the library. So reducing it, not quite by half, I can't do the math, to 3 minutes and then saying we can't yield to each other when there's people clearly in the town who know a lot more than I about how the library works, I think is a disservice to the town, and it's our library as well. And it's so important. Look at the town. It's awesome. Thank you guys.
Okay, well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
That was the other point. I'm not done. Thank God I have more. Not the back and forth. I'm not. When do we ask questions? Thank God I'm asking it this week and not next week, I guess. Because if this is not the time to ask you guys questions about what's happened, then where do we ever get clarification of that? Do we write it in like the town paper? Like, I just really don't know. This is a real question.
So you wanna ask questions so
So,
that the
like,
board can
last-
respond?
Yeah, like
Okay.
before, like last week, there were a lot of questions like, how did this happen? What happened here? That kind of thing. And you responded, which was great. I'm not sure where that happens if not here.
Did we decide on whether we
Are you not
responded? I
answering
don't
questions
remember.
now?
Well, I'll tell you what happened last week. I responded at least 5 times, the same stuff. I just, people kept asking me the same question, and I told them the answer, and finally we said, you know, we can't continue having this discourse.
I think
back
she's
and
asking
forth.
in general, if
In
she were to
general.
ask questions, would the board respond?
Because you've said a couple times, this is just comment, there's no response from the board going, when you're talking about the changes coming up. So like right now where you just answered me, I so appreciate, how would that work in the future?
At any time, if you want to contact any board member here, any of us would be willing to speak to
But
you.
Oh,
Dan had said, not to override, but Dan had said that the town council is responding, which traditionally they had not. So I just wanna know, for my sake, are we, cause I could sometimes respond to, I don't wanna get myself in trouble, are we responding to when public comment asks questions, or are we not?
Well,
I don't know I just don't remember what the board decided.
Yeah,
the procedures are something we can vote on next time, but, it was so crazy watching the last 2 meetings, and, it was so crazy watching the last 2 meetings at how many times things were going back and forth, and then people were in the audience were yelling back and forth,
at
and
each other, yeah.
it's like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be even talking to people and just let people come and make the comment, and then, if there's something that someone wants to address after they've had their 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it's going to be, the chair can, allow that.
Yeah, and again,
I just
anyone
don't
who
want it
wants
to be back and
call me,
forth.
I will gladly just have any kind of discussion that you feel is necessary.
So just
Okay.
call you in the future?
I'm sorry, but
So just
Call
call you in the future?
you can, yes.
But I feel like last week was an atypical meeting. There were some problems with things that had been conducted outside of a legal meeting, and people were concerned and asking for clarification because they didn't know. They were legitimately asking for clarification. I think on a regular meeting, people might have just a question, but I think last week there was a lot to answer for, so that's why you felt like you had to respond a lot. But I think on a typical meeting, like, it isn't a circus. It would be just people asking a question.
I was just saying, I hope you keep public comment open. This is our time in our town, in our library, so.
Thank you, and please contact me if you have specifics, okay?
Sure.
Public
Yes.
comment, I just wanna ask Maura something, okay? Maura, you've been to the council meetings many times. And now, when you get up there and you ask something, we respond to you. Do you like that?
Not always,
We don't?
not always.
I'm sorry if we don't. But,
Sometimes.
if you ask a question, you should be, you should be answering it. How do you like that versus us not responding to you?
I understand what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand
That's
what
what
you're saying.
I'm just trying to get to. Thank you.
Okay. Oh,
No.
one more.
Hi, Azra Palin, 17 Bancroft Road. So 3 hours in again. It's very concerning to me that the board is still not prepared and not coming with the RSAs, with the notes, the public not being able to see the changes and being surprised by some of them and frankly really concerned. I would hope that you have your bylaws reviewed by a lawyer, because there's certain things, whether it's limiting a trustee's social media, First Amendment laws, you could get into some really deep trouble, I think, and lawyers are not cheap. The other comment that I want to make is that it's also really concerning to me how much you try to micromanage a director who is more than qualified and more than capable, and trying not to have an assistant director here who knows so much and is a huge support for Aaron as well. The merit increases, you know, there's a system, and the system has worked for a very long time. Why change it if it's, why do you need to know more than you already do beyond your job duties or your trustee duties? Again, I can't say enough good things. Thank you so much for joining GMILKs, knowing the important difference between GMILKs and ILL. Please do your homework. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, Patrick.
Patrick Elasman, 22 Summer Drive. Just two tiny little comments. I can't speak for whatever bank that was under discussion, but St. Mary's Bank, which is here in Londonderry, does allow both paper and online. So just a comment, there's at least one bank I know of. The other comment regarding some of the discussion about emails and such. I'm recent on the budget committee. We had Kirsten Hildonen come in and give us an excellent 91A presentation. One of the recommendations she made was that board members, or in our case the budget committee, send all emails intended for the rest of the members to the chair of the board, and the chair is then responsible for disseminating. The reason for that is that way, you know, your emails are always coming from one place and there's just better traceability, and also in case of a 91A discovery, there's really sort of one place to go. I shouldn't say one throat to choke. The other thing you might consider, because this is what I actually do professionally, this kind of stuff, talking to the town's IT to see if there is a way that in compliance with 91A and the software platform the town has licensed, Microsoft 365, you can disseminate information where instead of using email, which is a 1960s technology, all the town can come to, for example, a Microsoft Teams, the board can come to a Microsoft Teams site, assuming that that's what the town has licensed for you. That would let you have all the information in one place, and actually, if you so desire, ensure that people can see it by mentioning them, etc. It's just a much more modern way of ensuring that information gets disseminated. So just a suggestion, maybe talk to town IT, what do they have available that can solve the problem of we definitely need to get this information to people. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to.
Other public comments?
I think, yeah, they were all done public comments, right, yeah. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second motion to adjourn.
All in